Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of On to the Next One. I am Mike Heck, and yes, this is typically a matchmaking show. No, there was not a UFC event this weekend. Yes, it has been a just awful start to 2023 for the sport and a very, very dark month for the sport. But today, we're going to do our very best to try to have a little bit of fun because today, my friends, we're going to do something that I enjoy doing so much. It is one of my favorite shows to do throughout the year. It is the third annual On to the Next One Predictions Extravaganza, as we will attempt to make sense of what this new year 2023 is going to look like in the space of MMA. But before we get to that, let me introduce the co-pilot, the co-host, the co-matchmaker, the prince of positivity. Boy, can we use some positivity right now. He's also the best friend, Mr. Alexander K. Lee. Hello, AK. Look at this background.
Hello, everyone.
Wow.
I'm on Safari. I'm on Safari, as you can see. Actually, let me just tilt it a little bit. Okay. What's up, everybody? I'm on Safari. That looks just a little bit better. The angle was just slightly off. Yeah, listen, Mike, we need some positivity. I'm so happy we're doing this show. This is the real, I think, bookend on 2022 for us. I think for MMA fighting, we've had our best of lists and everything last week. Jed has been doing some amazing year in review stuff this week. We've been doing a bunch of podcasts over the last couple of weeks. Again, looking ahead, looking back, best bets. That was great stuff. The MMA Hour Awards show was phenomenal as always. And I think you and I are in the closer spot, right? I think this is it. I think after this, no more broad prediction stuff or year end stuff. This is it. We are sealing the deal here.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And truth be told, the delay of the show is completely my fault because I have a multiple computer setup here in Command Center 4.0, and normally I'm looking at like exactly where I'm looking because there's the desktop right here, and I usually run everything off this desktop, and then there's another desktop on the other side of the room. But my mouse for this new desktop completely died, like absolutely died, and I couldn't even like click on the link to get into this room where the show is being produced right now. So I'm running like 2 or 3 different. So I'm looking at this camera that is at this desktop that's not even working right now because the mouse is not working and everything is off to the right here. So when I look over here, it's because I can see AK's face in this incredible background that I just cannot take my eye off of. So my fault for the delay. But before we get into everything, I do want to say before the show starts, thoughts and prayers go out to the Lee family after it was revealed on Saturday that 18-year-old super prospect Victoria Lee, the sister of one championship title holder siblings, Angela and Christian, golly, man, just passes away, and the cause of death is unknown. But Angela Lee said in a statement it happened right around Christmas time. And AK, just awful news. Again, thoughts and prayers to the Lee family, friends, training partners, anybody whose lives that she touched. Just so sad, AK. Just when we think maybe the news cycle might turn somewhat around, and it hasn't seemed that, it just gets worse hearing a story like this. So before we get into this, I wanted to turn it over to you and get your thoughts on just this horrendous news.
Yeah, we've had a lot of awful news lately. This was awful news of a different kind. It just seems like the MMA community is just getting it from all angles right now in just the worst possible way. So shocking. This was kind of a vacation week for me. I'd been working a little bit, but a bit of a vacation week, which meant I'd sort of been able to stay away from social media. A big part of our work is staying active on social media and paying attention to news stories. So it wasn't until I sort of randomly logged on, I think shortly after the Victoria Lee news broke out, and I just saw people commenting on it. I wasn't sure what they meant. I don't know if they meant another Victoria Lee. And then sure enough, I went to go check all the other, see what our community was saying. And it was her. And it was just horrible. Mike, I don't know if you've interviewed anyone from the Lee family. I think I've interviewed both Angela and Christian. And yeah, they're just top class people. And it is unfathomable. It really just put a damper on, again, what has already been a tough time. So much potential, just 18 years old. People have been writing stories about Victoria since she was 16 years old. So in a way, she's sort of been growing up with us and with the MMA community. And it was so unbelievable. Like I said, I just wanted to think it was, I don't know, wrong, or that it was just, I mean, if it was any 18-year-old, it would have been horrible. But again, much less someone that we feel some sort of ties to. And who knows where her life could have gone, whether it was becoming a world champion MMA fighter, or leaving MMA and doing something else. We'll never know. And that part of it is just horrible to think of. And of course, all the pain that her family and loved ones is going through. So we can only, hope for peace and some sort of reconciliation moving forward with this kind of thing. But yeah, I think everyone's feeling this one.
Yeah, 100%. Just very tough to transition from that news, but we're gonna try. And for those who have not listened or seen this particular show that we do, here's how it works. And let me just say this: big shout out and thank you to the fantastic OTTNO viewers and listeners, because you all came through in a huge way. For the last several weeks, we have asked for your prediction questions, and good Lord, did you guys ever deliver? The first round of the show, we're going to answer a whole bunch of these questions. These are buy-sell questions that you guys have sent along, some over the last few weeks when we asked for them. Some have been doing it throughout the year because I was doing the show before even MMA fighting. And the questions will pop up on the screen. We will give our predictions, our takes on them. We will buy or sell them. We have seen these questions in theory, but they have been narrowed down. They have been selected by our absolute savage 3024 producer, EKC Leiden. So we actually don't know which questions are going to be popping up on the screen. We'll go through about 25 to 30 of these, one would think. And then after that, we will then predict who will end the year as UFC champions in each weight class. And finally, we will each give our Muy Caliente prediction for 2023. Something really outside the box, something that probably shouldn't come true, but it could. And if it does come true, then we look like absolute geniuses. So, AK, my best friend, are you ready to do this? I'm shifting over to this screen now so I can actually see what is happening here. But are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be. I'm a little scared. I saw some of these, but I don't know. I don't know if I can, if I'm ready to give our bold predictions, because I think we did the recap recently, Mike, and we actually, we did okay. I think we did respectable with some of our buy sells. Some of them way off, and I can't remember our bold predictions, but we'll deal with the consequences later.
Exactly. All right. Casey, what is the first question? Oh, buy or sell that
course.
Jon Jones will retire by the end of 2023, AK. He hasn't had a fight, and we're sniffing over. I mean, it's been a long time since Jon Jones has fought. It's been a very, very long time. All this talk about moving to heavyweight. Body is obviously at a heavyweight frame right now. There's all this talk, some positivity, if you will, behind a Francis Ngannou versus Jon Jones fight, possibly as early as March of this year. But could it be that before 2023 is over, Jon Jones just says, I'm out of here. I'm done?
I think we're going to be saying this with a lot of these questions, Mike, and maybe some of our own predictions, that it's maybe a year ahead. So get used to that. That could be a theme of some of these questions. It could be a year ahead, because I don't think he retires at the end of this year, assuming he even fights. Actually, I should say, whether he fights or if he doesn't fight, he's definitely going to drag on this non-retirement for another year. For some reason, we don't see him fight in the next 12 months. And if he does fight, I think that'll keep his gears moving a little bit enough to push him back into one more year of competition. If someone I see already a comment saying 2024 from Kink Panther in the YouTube comments, and I agree. I think 2024 by end of 2024 would be more realistic. 2023 is sort of more again, if he fights, the comeback year, or more of this dragging on, and us at MMA Fighting writing articles like Jon Jones says he's ready to fight in April. Jon Jones says he's come for the heavyweight title in November at Madison Square Garden, and then maybe it never happens. But 2023, a little too soon. So that's a sell for me.
This is just one of those weird questions where, like, how do you define this? Because does it count as a retirement if Jon Jones tweets out at any point this year that I'm done? Like, does it count? Does that count, AK? Like, if he just tweets out at any point this year that he's retiring, even if we don't 100% feel like he's going to, does this count?
What was the wording of the question again? Can we? Okay, will retire. Retire. not will be retired. It does not say will be retired by the end of 23. Will he at some point retire by the end of 20?
I'm buying it if we are accepting the fact that at some point this year he will say he's done.
What if
Whether
he deletes it? Hold on. What if he tweets and deletes it? What's the ruling there?
He tweets and deletes "Good morning, how are you?" So he could tweet or delete that too. But yeah, if there's a story out there that if MMA Fighting at some point writes a story that says John Jones says he's retired, does this count as a buy? Would that count as a point?
Yes, it would. But then in case I'm still selling. I don't think that's I'm still. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. He's pretty erratic with his rate of tweeting and deleting. It could easily come up and be gone in 5 minutes. By that point, one of us would have screenshotted it and, as you said, written a little post about it on MMA Fighting. But I'm still selling. So I'm going to say no tweet, no hint of it, no direct, maybe a hint of it, but no direct "I am retiring" then deleted statement. No, I think too soon.
I am buying this just for that reason. I'm not saying he's going to be out of the USADA pool or anything like that, but it'll be Conor retires like 4 times every year. And John's like an every other year kind of guy. And I don't think he actually announced retirement in 2022. So I think odd numbered years, there is a retirement of some sort. So I'll just play the historical numbers here and say that he will, just for that reason, the social media stuff, he will say he's retired at some point, even though it may not be 100% accurate. So I will buy that for that reason.
Next question. Right off the bat, you and I are diverging.
I love it.
Okay, let's see.
Usually the first question is the false sense of security, but now we got Casey in here mixing it up.
Friends forever, I thought.
All right. Buy or sell at some point in 2023. This is the opposite here. TJ Dillashaw, who announced his retirement not long ago, or at least we confirmed that he is retired, announces he's unretiring and he's going to return to MMA. So an agreement in principle that he's coming back. Buy or sell this, AK?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'm going to buy because definitely by the wording of this, it's not returns in 2023. It's announces he's coming out of retirement in 23. And then we might see him fight in 2024, or knowing him, how long he goes between fights, 2025. So yeah, I'm not super convinced TJ Dillashaw is done. I never have been. I mean, personally, if it were up to me, I would hope the man has made enough money to retire. I know we say this for a lot of fighters, but I don't want to see TJ fight anymore. I just think there's still winnable fights for him at bantamweight for sure. But I think that he could beat anyone in the top 5, top 6 anymore, those days might be over. It's just such a tough division. It gets younger and younger. It's based a lot on speed and athleticism. And he's a great athlete, but just every year it's going to be diminished, not just from age, but from wear and tear, injuries he's taken, whatever it is, whatever crap it is that he's put into his body. So I do think he's not done. The fact that he went into that fight with Sterling with one shoulder and thought that, I think realistically did actually think that he thought he would have a chance, tells you where his fighting mentality. So I don't think he wants to go out like that. He will announce his return in 2023. Yes, he's not going to fight in 2023 though. So that's a buy.
This is a tough one. I thought about this one quite a bit because I do think at some point he will say he's coming back. I just don't know if it's going to be this year. So we'll differ again. I will sell this, but I think we'll be very close and we'll be having conversations whether or not this is going to happen early 2024. So I think it will happen, maybe even as early as like January, February of 2024. But I'm gonna play the positivity role because I don't want to see this either. I don't want to see him come back at this point. Unless he like comes back for one more fight with like Uriah Faber just to do that, then I'm cool. Other than that, there's no need. And this division doesn't need it. It didn't need Henry Cejudo coming back, but it looks like that's a thing. And I think we're probably a year plus away from Dillashaw entertaining this. But who knows? The way this year has been going, TJ Dillashaw coming back from retirement or a very short one will be like the 38th most impactful news story in MMA. So I will sell it, but we're going to be knocking on the door, I think.
Yeah, these are close ones. The first two, not only did we disagree, Mike, they're close ones. They're not like, neither of these has been like a home run. Yeah, we're like, oh, we think it's definitely like huge buy or huge sell. It's like, all right.
Buy or sell. At some point in 2023, Dana White will not be active UFC president. To be clear, any form of termination, resignation, or hiatus, however temporary, from the role of UFC president qualifies. I think the however temporary
Yeah.
makes this question much more easy, because if you're asking me that, like, at the end of the year, Dana White will have, like, he's gone as the president of the UFC, I would sell the holy crap out of this, because obviously we know what has happened. We've talked about it. The slapping incident, everything that happened with his wife, the fact that nothing has been said by anybody outside of Dana with that interview with TMZ. We have heard nothing from anybody. Everybody else has refused to comment. And we're going to keep talking about this, ladies and gentlemen. You can roll your eyes all you want. Until something is done, I ain't going to stop talking about it. And we are not, as a website, going to stop talking about this. But we are wondering what the punishment could actually be, even if it's like a temporary, let's step away here, a suspension. He's off TV for 3 months. He's stepping down for 3 months, so forth and so on. That makes this kind of interesting. Not that I think this is going to happen, but I think if something does happen, it's going to be a very temporary Band-Aid to this whole thing, and at least some decent PR for the UFC that something is done, that the collection of everybody involved comes together and says, dude, you gotta get out of here for a little bit. So buy or sell this, AK, that at some point, Dana White is not the president of the UFC in 2023.
Man, I do love that temporary thing. Because if there's one thing we know that the UFC loves, it's interim titles. So what would be more appropriate than interim UFC president David Shaw or something, or interim UFC president Mick Maynard? I don't know. Throw a name out there, a well-recognized UFC executive's official's name in there. And like you said, it would essentially be it could be a temporary post. It doesn't erase Dana from the equation entirely. The company loves Dana. The fact, I don't know how we want to take them not speaking upon, again, not releasing an official statement about this whole incident. I don't want to say they're like protecting him, because them not saying anything is arguably as bad as saying something. But clearly they're conflicted about how to handle it, which I think wouldn't be the case if they weren't happy with his the services that he's provided, so to speak, for the promotion for the last however many years. So yeah, I will buy. All these caveats open up a lot of doors to make this a possibility. And I do think we could see an interim president. Again, we've had people who have stood in for Dana sort of and spoken to the media at post-fight press conferences. There's more to being the president than that, but that's a big part of it, just being the public face. And there's people who've shown that they can be comfortable being the public face. And more importantly, give sort of different touch than Dana. You know, I get it. There's a huge segment of fans that love Dana's in your face, confrontational, watch the UFC dummy personality. But someone, again, like a David Shaw, if anyone's seen him, he's got a bit of a softer touch to him. He's got a bit of a, he's a little more of a friendly guy. Definitely not like, no one would compare him to Dana personality wise. So you bring in someone like that again, or you go, one of the matchmakers, or another recognizable personality, and you're fine. You're cruising along. But I still think by the end of 2023 he'll be back. But regarding this question, yes, a buy. They're gonna do a little, hopefully some good PR here, and just maybe move him out of that position temporarily.
Again, this one's close. Like, the answer should be absolutely buy. Like, it should be a buy. 1,000%. This should be a no-brainer. But we're not. This is the UFC. This is what it is. The fact that no one has said anything about this tells me that nothing is going to happen. Now, I have been saying this a million times, and I'll say it once more. No one's asking for Dana to be fired. No one is asking for Dana's job to be completely taken away from him. What we are asking for, and Jed Meshew had the perfect word for this, contrition. Contrition. Show you care. And Dana came out and said everything he said, and I thought he handled himself very well. But something needs to happen. Going on TMZ for a fluff interview where they were feeding him softball after softball after softball is not enough for me. It needs to be temporary suspension, 3 to 6 months. He needs to pay a heavy fine, which would go to a DV charity of some kind, and cut a PSA, something like that. You do that, that's some contrition. I have no doubt in my mind that he'll be back. The second thing, which I don't think anybody actually understands at this point, the UFC doesn't need Dana White anymore. He doesn't need to be the promoter anymore. The promotion is going to run fine on its own, and Dana is a huge part of that, and I will never take that away from him. 1,000%. He will always be attached to what he has done for this company, what he has done for this sport, being the face of the sport and being the most powerful man in it. But he's done his job. He's done everything he can do. There's nothing more he can do now to help grow the sport. There's nothing. The sport will grow on its own. And who knows if Dana is out, just think of some of the other names who he's had issues with in the past that might want to come back. Look at WWE. Once Vince McMahon was gone, a lot of the guys who were fired and had bad relationships with Vince McMahon, popular people, got brought right back, and they're thriving. So do I think he'll be gone forever? No. Do I think at some point the UFC is just going to have to be forced to do something, come together with Endeavor and come to some kind of a decision like this, a temporary suspension, whether it be for a week or a month or 3 months or more? I think they're going to have to get to that at some point, but that's up to us. That's up to us to keep this story out there and to keep talking about this. Fans as well. So I will buy this. I will say I will buy this somewhat reluctantly, but I'm hoping that some of this contrition can actually happen and it can be shown to all of us that at least somebody cares. That at least somebody cares about this entire situation. So reluctant buy, but this is more of a hopeful buy, AK.
Yeah, again, listen, how many times, Mike, I don't know how, we haven't been doing the show for too many years, but at least one show, or I know any other prediction shows I've gone on, I've done the Dana White will no longer be the president of the UFC. And this wasn't even years where there was, again, following some sort of misconduct, just like, based on whatever his seeming, apathy towards promoting, things like that. So yeah, it's weird to keep predicting it. And like, it hasn't happened, and why would it? He makes a lot of money being the UFC president. As we said, the UFC is very happy with him, but it does feel like this year of all year that should put some crack in that relationship. So yeah, and neither you nor I are super optimistic that it's like going to happen, that there will be some accountability, but we can certainly hope for it, and it would send a really, really strong message to, frankly, to a lot of people in the MMA community who need it, including some of our commenters in the YouTube.
Oh, I'm sure it's awful.
Don't look at it, Mike. Don't look at it.
I'm not going to. All right, next. Let's move on. Not forever, but for now.
Oh, come on.
Dillon Danis will have one sanctioned bout in 2023 in some sort of striking combat sport. I mean, come on.
This was going to be my bold prediction. I was joking with Casey before the show. I said Dillon Danis fights in 20, and then I reminded myself, Mike, when we make a bold prediction, it has to at least somewhat be based in reality. So this guy's never fighting again. This is a joke. So this is a hard sell for me. I don't know where you're going with this.
I wanted to sell this before I got to 2023 in this question. So sell. Let's move on. That was the easiest one. He's not fighting in some sort of combat sport this year.
And let me just say, I want to apologize I don't apologize for us having stories with Dillon Danis. It's fine. People are interested in them. But I will apologize for us, possibly playing a role in Dillon Danis, reaching, having any sort of infamy. Every MMA website that covers him, I'm sure none of us are proud of it. People, he's there. People talk about him. Ariel gave him a platform. Ariel, I'm sure, was happy to do it. He has. It's ridiculous that Dillon Danis has even said anything bad to Ariel, because Ariel has been, along with Conor McGregor, maybe the second most important person in promoting him, like even more than like Scott Coker. Like, so listen, for anyone out there who criticizes the MMA media for covering Dillon Danis and making him bigger than he should be, I'm not speaking. I shouldn't speak for anyone else. I should rephrase it. I shouldn't speak for anyone else. I'm going to apologize for that. I don't think I've ever talked about Dillon Danis that much, but if I've talked about him at all, if I broadcast his brand at all, I apologize. This guy is a joke. I'm not saying there won't be stories about him in the future. Again, he's a person of interest. We write stories about him. It happens. But I am apologizing from the past. I'm apologizing in advance. Let's hope this man goes away. Let's hope this man gets the help he needs, because I'm going to echo Ariel again and say I don't want to inherently believe this is a bad person. I just see like a lonely person, someone who's really gotten lost in the sauce, worked themselves into a shoot, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think he knows how to get out. I don't think Dillon Danis even knows who Dillon Danis is anymore. And and I wish him the best in his life and health. But yeah, we definitely need to stop talking about him in sort of the realm of actual fighters.
I don't think I could have said it any better. So yeah, let's move on. Next question. Double sell. Buy or sell. Figgy moves up to 135 after Figgy Moreno 4, AK.
I don't know if he does it right after. When's this? This is the first. This is February, right?
No, this is next Saturday.
What?
Not this Saturday. Not this Saturday. Next Saturday.
Yes, next Saturday. The UFC is back. Days. MMA is back. Major League MMA is back. Wow. Right at no, I can't say right after. I do feel like there's another. This is another one of those close ones that they've all been close so far. Great job, people. By the way, on the buy sell questions, this is what they should be. They shouldn't be layups except for the Dillon Danis thing. But that just gives an excuse to trash Dillon, so that's fine. But they're close. They're close. So not right after. If we're just saying some point after in 2023, I think big buy. I could see Davison, wanting to defend the title in a flyweight title fight that isn't Brandon Moreno. They've just seen each other so much. And I'd be fine with seeing that fight 5 more times. But I think if you're Davison, you want a different challenge. So there are a lot of good names still at 125. And if Davison is comfortable making the weight, I know it's not an easy one for him. Definitely defend one more time. So not right after. But will he move up before the end of 2023? Strongly, yes. That's a buy for me. But going by the exact wording of this, I'm going to go sell. I believe this person is asking, will he move up right after, like vacate the title and move up right after? I don't think so. I think we see a title defense at 125 after Moreno. It doesn't even say if he wins.
That's it. That's
tricky.
AJ.
Well, I know what you're going to say now. But okay, so just does he move up either way? Well, now I have to predict if he's going to win the fight, which is so difficult. I'll stick with sell. I just win or lose. I don't think he moves up right after. I'll stick with sell.
I'm going to sell this as well because if Figgy wins, then he'll just defend that belt. But if he loses, I could see a world where the UFC is just like, we'll just do it again. Like, you know what I mean? I could definitely see number 5 happening. I don't think this will be the close of the show, if you will. So I'll sell this. I'll sell this with you. But I think he might. I think a decision will be. And again, this is just like you prefaced earlier. We're setting ourselves up for like 2024, and I think this is going to be more of a 2024 question.
I think so too. These are good questions. The people are really looking ahead. These are good questions.
All right, what else we got? Shavkat Rakhmonov fights for a title this year. Now, AK, Shavkat Rakhmonov was supposed to fight this coming Saturday, 6 days from now, against Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal was out. They had a fight with Brian Barberena, dropped on their laps. Both sides are in. UFC said no. I have been advocating from the beginning here that Shavkat should fight on this card, even if it's like a WWF Superstars type thing where he just trucks somebody, because in order for this to be a complete buy, you need to get this guy on television. He can't just fight once or twice this year. He needs to be out there fighting 3-4 times. People need to get to know this guy as much as possible, even if he's beating guys as a minus 2,500 favorite. I don't care. Now the Jeff Neal fight is rebooked for March 4th. Do you think, buy or sell, that Shavkat Rakhmonov will be fighting for a UFC title this year?
Let me first say I fully have supported your WWF Superstars idea for Shavkat. Yeah, it's very important just to get these guys exposure. That him and Barberena would have been the welterweight equivalent of Islam Makhachev and Bobby Green, right? It's like you just need to keep these guys busy. You just need to give them a recognizable name and let them go to work. And if they truck that person, great. You want people to see this fight and be like, oh wow, like this guy could beat anybody. I don't know if this guy could beat anybody. But the way they ran through Bobby Green or the way Shavkat might have run through, Brian Barberena, it gets the imagination going and it gets people, whether a title shot is next for them, at least thinking like, yeah, I got to see this guy fight for the world title someday. So, Mike, I'm buying hard on this one. I'm buying hard, man. He is coming for that title shot. There's a certain element of whether people think Khamzat is going to be able to sort of stick around at 170 this year, because if he does and gets a win, he should probably be fighting for a title. I'm skeptical of Khamzat returning to 170 this year. Really, figuring out what's going to happen next for Khamzat is crazy. So I'm going with what I know, and that's that Shavkat is putting in work at 170, is a guy who looks like a future champion, is a guy who will fight for a title this year. Probably second half. Obviously, we're thinking second half, maybe even end of year, but I do see it happening. He's just on the right track, and I'm not pushing this one back to 2024, Mike. This is a 2023 buy.
I agree with you. However, it's just he's got the talent, absolutely. And if the UFC wanted to kind of give him the Alex Pereira treatment and just give him Jeff Neal and then give him one more strategically placed fight that you could argue would get him a title shot, then I think he would get it. I just think this division is in such a weird place right now because it appears that Kamaru Usman's going to get the rematch with Leon Edwards in London. I know some people have been rumoring that won't happen. Maybe Masvidal will come in. I don't think that's the case. And what if Leon wins? Like, what if Leon wins again? Masvidal could slide in there. Like, merit doesn't matter, folks. Merit doesn't matter. That story writes itself. It's super easy. You just show the clip of the three-piece Minnesota over and over and over again. You got Colby. You got Khamzat. You still got Gilbert Burns. You got Bilal Muhammad. All these guys are there. All of them have arguments to being in this spot. I just don't think Shavkat's... This is why I thought fighting January 14th was so important. Because guess what? He could have ran over some poor soul or even Brian Barberena, still fought Jeff Neal March 4th, and then you put him on International Fight Week, and who knows who he'd be fighting by then. And then maybe he slides into a title shot at the end of the year. I don't know. The problem is I just don't think he's going to get enough guys to say, sure, I'll fight that dude. And that, unfortunately, is going to be the sticking point as to why I'm going to sell this. He could get there. I would love to see him fight for the belt. I'd love to see him fight Leon. I would pick him to beat Leon Edwards right now. I would pick him to be very competitive with Kamaru Usman and most guys in this division. I just don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think he's going to get a top 5. I don't think he's going to get the right guy to say yes to fighting him to get him over that hump with this division being where it's at. So skill-wise, he could absolutely get there. He's going to have to fight like 5 times to do it. And I just don't think that's going to happen this year. So Unfortunately, this is a sell, but he could definitely get there and he could beat the champion right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a lot of math not working in his favor, but I'll go blindly optimistic on this one and stick with sell.
Hey, I hope you're right. I'd love to see Shavkat get his chance. All right, what do we got next? Interesting.
Appropriate.
Interesting follow-up. Jorge Masvidal or Colby Covington will get a title shot in 2023. AK, what do you think?
I think you're really right about the Jorge thing. And let me tell people, I shouldn't be, as a fan of meritocracy, which by the way doesn't exist in MMA. Let's be honest. I need to see him and Leon fight before it's all said and done. I want the 3-piece Minnesota thing to be resolved. I think it's such a strong storyline. Such a great backdrop for a grudge match. And I know if it happened under these circumstances, it's less than ideal. Like, we'd rather see, Leon maybe lose the title to Kamaru and then to sort of maybe get a third fight with Kamaru. He has to beat Jorge Masvidal in the grudge match. I get it. That's a perfect world. But it's really hard to plan ahead like that in MMA. Like, once you start, listen, this fight with Masvidal should have happened friggin' 2 years ago. And for some reason, things just keep happening that keep their paths, going in different directions. But like, it's for the UFC to fail to make this fight happen would be a huge loss of money. Frankly, I was going to say like a huge loss for the fans. It's a huge loss for the company. There's just a lot of money to be made with this fight, and I'm all for it. And I always tell people belts are props. And I almost hate the fact that Leon being the champion removes this money fight from Masvidal's reach, because it is a big money fight for both guys. But I get it. I totally understand why people don't want to see it. Masvidal just hasn't been winning fights. If you're not winning fights, how the hell can you get a title shot? But for me, at the end of the day, the bottom line of MMA is, one, MMA is supposed to be fun. And part of that is, do I want to see these two people fight each other? That to me is, if I'm booking anything, judging a booking, that's my number one criteria. Do I want to see these two fight each other? And I really want to see Leon and Jorge fight someday. It shouldn't be for the title. I understand people will be outraged, disgusted, diminish the meaning of the belt, whatever. Again, belts are props. but I need to see it. And if it has to happen sooner rather than later, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because I think if they keep trying to plan a way to have these two run into each other, it's just not going to work out. So if the stars align where you can just book them, you just go for it. It's just a great fight for both guys, especially for Masvidal, who shouldn't be near a title shot. But so the answer to the question, yes, kind of what you just laid out before in the previous question, Mike. Masvidal's right there, man, right in position. Whenever he clears up this legal thing, they would very happily slot him into a title fight with Leon, if Leon's still the champion by the time that happens. So that's a buy. I'm gonna buy.
I mean, more or less, I'm playing the odds here. You're giving me both guys in this situation in the way the UFC conducts business when putting on pay-per-view cards and putting fights together, where it's not always the top contender gets the rub. A lot of things need to happen for Masvidal to get a title shot. Like, Leon has to beat Usman again. Like, I could see, if the question was, will Leon Edwards and Jorge Masvidal fight in 2023, then I'm buying it 100%. It's either going to be for the belt, or even if Leon loses, that's the fight you make 1000%. So, but now you're throwing Colby in the mix too, who, feel how you want about the man. The guy has figured out prize fighting. He's figured it out. And he has found himself in some pretty positive places for his career just by not fighting or fighting lower level competition. He has done a tremendous job with the prize fighting aspect of what the sport can entail. So to me, you're giving me both of these guys. I'll buy it just for math. Hashtag math rules. And you give me both these guys in one question. I have to buy it just because I feel like one of these guys could get slotted in somewhere in some strange way.
Yeah, that's a bargain. That's a bargain.
It's a bargain price.
That's a 2-for-1 deal. Yeah.
Yes. What else we got? Ooh. All right. Let's go over to the wonderful world of Bellator. So Bellator has announced that a lightweight Grand Prix is going to take place beginning in 2023. The current champion is the young, just up and coming terror that is Usman Nurmagomedov. Buy or sell, AK, that he will lose this title in the Grand Prix in 2023.
Do we have the bracket yet? No.
We don't even know who's all in it yet.
Yeah, let me do a little quick googly here. My first instinct, by the way, obviously I'm going to say sell. I think Usman's the real deal. I think he could hold on to this title for a long time. I'm trying to look. What names are we talking about here?
I would say
AJ McKee.
Kofi. Yep. Maybe.
Maybe. We still don't. AJ has said many times he still wants to get that other shot at at Patricio, right? Like he wants to get that the trilogy bout, which is smart, which I think he should resolve that first.
I talked to him last week, and he said he's still down to do that, but if Bellator calls him and says, AJ, your next fight's Patricio for the featherweight title, he won't be in the lightweight Grand Prix. He already knows.
That's what I'm thinking.
Time.
Yeah, and I think that fight does happen. So I have to take AJ out of the equation. Other than that, boy, if I'm forgetting someone obvious, people please let me know. I'm just looking over some of these names. I don't see anyone super threatening to Usman. Maybe they put in Mansour. They put him in there. That'd be nice, but I have a feeling he's not going to be part of the tournament either. They might go with some of their more veteran guys. But yeah, I'm going to stick with Sell. I'm going to stick with Sell. Usman's going to put together a run, and let me tell you something. He's going to put together a run up our rankings too. He's one of those guys who it's going to be hard for us to move him up there because I know there's that Bellator bias, or the other way, I guess, bias against Bellator fighters moving up because they can't beat a lot of the names that are in our rankings and most people's rankings. But I think he's going to look impressive enough that we're going to be like, okay, this guy might be like at least in the top 10, maybe as high as like number 9. More than that, we'll see. But yeah, I'd love to see him go on a big run here. That's a sell for me. He's holding on to it.
Yeah, I think I have Usman as number 10 in my lightweight rankings right now. So here's the Bellator top 10 right now underneath Usman: Patricky Pitbull, Tofik Masayev, Benson Henderson, Alexander Shabley, Sidney Outlaw, Brent Primus, Islam Mamedov, AJ McKee, Peter Queally, Ghazi Rabananov. I just don't see. I think AJ could be interesting just because he's such a wild man and he has just no fear whatsoever. And I think that's I think that's sort of how you have to approach a guy like Usman or Magomedov. But I just feel like Usman's that good, and I have to sell this. Like, he might end up losing in the end, but they're not going to wrap this Grand Prix up in 2023. And unless they go back to that super cool thing where they bring each of the higher ranked fighters out and they get to choose their opponents.
Oh, so good. Please do it.
Because you know Usman's going to just pick the toughest challenge there is. He's not just going to sit there and pick the number 8 seed or anything like that. So I think they'll probably just give him the lower edge guy and find his way, and they'll probably try to set up him versus McKee or him versus Masayev or something like that. So yeah, I'll sell it.
Yeah.
He might lose it, but it won't be this year.
Yeah, a lot of this was dependent on whether you think AJ will be in it or not. I think he does the Patricio Pitbull fight instead. If he's in it, definitely makes it lean a little closer to buy, but I don't think he is. So yeah, we're both selling, Mike. Right?
Or you could just have your cake and eat it too, and just put Patricio in the lightweight Grand Prix, and just that could be the first round matchup.
Wow,
right there.
Are you trying to make MMA fun again, Mike? Are you trying to make MMA fun again? Come on.
We need it. Patricio's not the champion anymore, so Patricio could just slot his way back up there and try for the second belt. Story writes itself.
Or you put them both in the tournament, and we actually have the chance of them fighting each other. No, that's not gonna. They would never. Patricio would never get in the way of that. Would never do it.
No way. All right, what else we got? Buy or sell. Khamzat Chimaev gets a title shot, AK. It could be at 170, could be at 185. Hell, the way they were talking at the end of last year, maybe at 205. Have you seen what this guy looks like? He's putting on some mass, getting in shape. What are we thinking, AK? Will 2023 be the year that Khamzat Chimaev fights for a UFC title?
This has to be some kind of course correction, because I feel like last year I was saying Khamzat would be the welterweight champion or something, or at least one of the, some sort of outlandish Khamzat predictions. And listen, our expectations for him haven't changed that much. Like, anyone who's seen him fight, that Kevin Holland fight was like a weird, again, 190-pound whatever, and the whole circumstances around the event were just a debacle that were caused by him. But when he gets in the cage, man, this guy is good. Other than Gilbert Burns, who's, again, is amazing, taking him to the limit, this dude is just an absolute force. And again, I always say the Gilbert Burns fight only made me think higher of his skills, because we talk about getting dragged into deep waters. I mean, Burns pushed him to the limit. That fight was friggin' awesome. And Khamzat, whether you feel he won or not, he went the distance in an absolute slugfest, a great fight. So he looks like a champion. He should be. If you gave him a title shot this year, I would predict him to beat Alex Pereira. I would predict him to beat Leon Edwards. I would predict him to beat. Well, we don't have a light heavyweight champion, but I'd probably pick him to beat either Glover Teixeira or Jamal Hill. And yet, I'm selling, Mike. I'm selling.
Wow.
I don't think he's getting a title shot. I think this guy he's got to sort out the weight thing. He's got to sort out, I don't know, all this stuff about how he's always like, oh, nobody wants to fight me. And the UFC saying that nobody wants to fight him, when we have all these people publicly calling him out in like 2 divisions. It's so confusing. There's just a lot going on behind the scenes with Khamzat. And really it came to a boil with the missing weight incident. It really just had us all going like, what is going on with Khamzat? Is he serious about fighting and fighting in a certain weight class? And it was so bizarre. So it's just a little too much weirdness around his situation for me. Again, he should be a world champion by the end of 2023 in some division. But I just think his situation is so screwy that he's not even going to get a title shot yet. I think he needs to win some fights, put on a show, keep building that highlight reel, and get things sorted. Pick a division. That's a good start. Just please pick a division.
Are we going to have a Friends Forever moment right here, AK? No, we are not having a Friends Forever moment.
I was queuing up the band.
The answer is yes. He will fight for a title, and more on that perhaps in round number 2. So stay tuned for that. Next question. Let's see. I'm still working on like multiple monitors right now.
I love this.
At least I moved it center, so I don't have to look over here. It's so awkward.
This is a good question.
Buy or sell. At least 3 Magomeds will hold titles in a major MMA organization at the end of 2023. AK. Buy or sell. At least 3 Magomeds.
Boy, this is going to go against, again, you mentioned sort of our next thing we have coming up, Mike, but this is probably going to go against my champions futures, as it were. But I'm still going to at least 3. You know, when I first saw this question, I was going to buy, and then I put more thought into who I thought was going to end our UFC champion predictions. And so I have to go sell now, I think, because this obviously assumes Magomed Ankalaev will be one of them. Does Magomed Karamov count as 2 Magomeds?
No.
No, because it's confusing. I don't know.
There's Magomed Magomedov too, so there's another one.
Technically, if Magomed Karamov and Magomed Magomedov both win titles, that's 4 Magomeds. I think
that's 4.
That's way over. That's the over by far. So I'll go sell. The Magomed name is in whatever form you see it as is so powerful. But three in major organizations, talking UFC, Bellator, PFL, and 1 championship. I don't even want to throw Ryzen in there. So that's a lot. That's a lot to ask for. So I'm gonna go maybe 2 tops. So I'm gonna a tentative sell. Not a super confident sell, but I do fall on the sell side.
So does this just include first names, or does Magomed have to be involved?
I'm counting any include if Magomed is anywhere in the name. I'm counting that as a Magomed.
So Nurmagomedov would count.
Ooh. I mean, I feel like it should.
Man, that makes things.
YouTube. What do you guys say? YouTube. What do you guys say? Go on. Go ahead, Mike. I'm going to take a look at you. I'm going to run a really quick poll here.
We got a really quick poll.
Hey, we're going live. I'm going to run a poll.
All right.
Magomedov.
I'll do a quick 60-second poll here. If the answer to that question is a no, then I'm selling this. If it's a yes, we already have 1 with Usman.
Yep.
It's already 1 guaranteed. And we both feel like he will end the year as champion. So that's 1, like a lock. There's many other Nurmagomedovs in play here.
Okay. I'm going to wait till we have a sample size of about 100. I'm going to go
Family Feud. Ankalaev.
Family Feud. We polled 100 people, and I'll let you know.
I have to know what the answer is before I decide.
It's leaning towards yes. It's so 55% yes so far. I'm a little surprised because I see the people who are actually commenting saying a lot of people saying no, but the voting, heavily yes now. Heavily yes. I'll let you know. Yeah, it's definitely leaning toward 50 votes in, and it's leaning towards yes. I'll stop at 100. If
this is a no, it's a definite sell because I don't think we're gonna get 3.
Just
if it's a yes. Okay. Yeah. If it's a yes, it's really close. I almost have to buy this just for, again, the same reason, the same exact philosophy behind the Colby and Masvidal answer of buying that because of just you're giving me both of those options right now. And now for adding the Nurmagomedov name to it, it's almost like we're both insane if we don't buy this.
Sorry, did you name them? If we are counting them as Magomeds, you said Usman. Ankalaev,
there's Umar, there's Saeed, there's Magomed.
I don't think either Umar or Saeed are getting the title shot in 2023.
Maybe
that's a deep division. And Magomed Karamov. Let's not forget he was going to the PFL playoffs, and they had their very, very silly visa situation because they chose to surprise the fighters by saying, "Hey, we're holding a card in the UK," and they're like, "What? We can't travel there." So. Magomed Karamov could have been the PFL won the championship this year. I assume he's coming back. The vote is almost done, but it looks like they're counting their Magomedovs. So
I think I have to buy this.
You like to buy
that included. I don't love it, but I feel like I have to play the odds here.
This is just
now that we're adding a lot more. I think if we dug a little deeper, we might be able to even add more caveats to this. So I will buy this with very little confidence, but at least, I got to play it. It's like I'm getting plus money on a Khamzat Chimaev fight.
Sure. Right now. I'm ending our poll at 92 votes in. 57% yes, Nurmagomedovs should count as Magomeds. So.
Okay. All right. Next question. This has been a fun show. The element of surprise is making this.
Of course.
Oh, I knew this was probably coming at some point. Buy or sell, Bo Nickel will be ranked in the top 10 of the UFC's middleweight division by the end of the year, AK.
We had our easiest sell. We had the Dillon Danis was like, will Dillon Danis fight in 2022, right? Easiest sell we've had so far. That was automatic sell. That you're not even getting much for that. You're selling that for a nickel at that point. This is I think our easiest buy so far. Will he be ranked in the top 10 of one, the UFC's fake rankings? Yes. And I think he'll be good enough to crack the illustrious MMA fighting global rankings as well. Let's look at our top 10 now that closed out 2023. And again, people should remember our global rankings, of course, include other promotions outside the UFC. So Alex Pereira, number 1, followed by Izzy, Robert Whitaker, Marvin Vettori, Cannonier, and then our first Bellator guy, Johnny Evelyn, number 6, Bellator champion. Brunson and Muniz tied at 7, Bellator's Gegard Mousasi at 9, Paulo Costa at 10. So pretty decent top 10, but not a top 10 that is so like, oh, it's hard to crack into there. And unlike some divisions in the UFC, lightweight, I'm looking at you, we don't have a lot of squatting at middleweight. Like, these guys are pretty good about, yes, they fight each other. Sure, they're in the shuffle fighting each other a lot, but they're pretty good about fighting guys ranked below them as well. Bo Nickel might be an exception. I could obviously see guys like Brunson, Cannonier, Paulo Costa, like having no interest in wanting to fight a Bo Nickel. I mean, he has, what is he now, Mike? 2-0, like 2 pro fights, right?
3-0, I think.
2. It's one of them with amateur, I think, right? Is he not? Is it one of the amateur fight?
Was this Contender Series fight? I'm looking it up right now. He's 3-0. Yeah, he had one fight
right.
under in
Pro
before
and then
the Contender Series.
Right, yes, and then 2 Contender Series fights. A lot of guys, that's the exception. A lot of guys in the top 10 won't want to fight him. However, so it might be tougher for him to get into the UFC's rankings. I will say that will be difficult, but I think our global rankings, I think our voters are already pretty high on Bo Nickel. He's not got a vote yet. He's not a Favre. But I can tell you, our own Jed Meshew, probably after his debut, we'll probably have him like throw him right in the top 10.
Number 3 in Jed's rankings.
Number 3, yeah, after one win over for Mr. Pickett. I won't go that far, if people know, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like, he's looked so good. And if we're talking about the end of the year, we're talking give it 12 months. Let's say he doesn't fight anyone in the top 10, but goes like 3-0, dominant victories. Man, he's gonna make my rankings. He's gonna sneak in there. It's a good top 15's looking pretty good right now. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I mean, 185. The top 15 of 185 is looking pretty good right now, but he has the talent to get in there. So this said top 10, right? Specifically,
top 10.
Top 10. I'm still gonna buy. This is the easiest buy for me. He's gonna be in the top 10 of the UFC's rankings and the global rankings by the end of the year.
I'm a little torn on this one because it should be an easy buy, but is he gonna get the matchups to get there? That's like, how is the UFC looking at him? Are they just going to push him to the moon, set him up to fight for a belt by 2024? Because if that's the case, if they're just going to, let's get this guy to a title shot as fast as possible, even if it takes like 2 or 3 fights, then the answer is going to be yes, because they'll give him the favorable matchups to get there. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to sell. He will be ranked. I think he will be ranked. I just don't know if he'll be top 10. I don't know if he's going to get the match. I don't know how much time. I don't know how many times he's going to fight. He's going to have to fight. He's going to absolutely have to fight 3 times this year, at least. Maybe 4. I'll sell it. I'm selling it.
Do you think he makes the top? Are you saying either ranking? And you don't think you think it'll be tough for him to get into the top 10 of both the global rankings and the UFC's official rankings?
With Jed Meshew involved, I think he has a better chance of getting in the global rankings at top 10, because we talked about the area of grievances. We tend to favor potential a little bit as a point to raise rankings.
Yeah,
and I think obviously his is incredibly high, but he will be ranked. Like, I'm not saying he won't be ranked. I just don't know if he'll be top 10 by April 2024. He's probably inside the top 10. I just don't know if he's going to have enough fights against enough quality competition to get him a top 10 ranking. Could he be like the 13th best? Sure. I just don't know if he'll be a top 10 guy. So potential through the roof. I just don't know if he's going to have enough time and enough proper fights to get him to number 10 or better.
It'll be a fun one to revisit, as we said, because we're probably going to go like, if he's in one of the rankings, not the other rankings, we're going to say, does that count as a successful buy? By the way, I will keep track, people, of Mike Heck's voting, because if it's close and he's like near into the top 10, I will make sure that Mike Heck does not tamper with the voting to keep Bo Nickel out
Oh,
of
no
the.
way.
I don't know. I'm just saying. You might want to get another buy on your like a successful buy on your record in your portfolio. And I don't know what lengths you're my best friend. You know I love you, but I don't know what lengths you'll go to. So I will be keeping a close eye on your voting. If he somehow ends up at 11 because Mike Heck like is excluded him from the ballot or put him way lower than that, I'm just saying. I don't think you would. I don't think.
Let me tell you how this all works.
Uh-huh.
2 weeks from now, I'm going to forget we even did this show. And then in December, I'm going to go back and listen to it and be like, oh, yeah, we talked about that. So it happens every single time.
Okay. No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're not that conniving.
Oh, good question. Buy or sell. Chris Weidman makes his incredible return and goes at least 2-0 in 2023, AK.
This is the second easiest sell of the show. No, he's not. Chris Weidman, I'm such a huge Chris Weidman fan. I have been, I mean, probably since a little bit before he came to the UFC. I mean, just from what people were saying about him and hyping him up, I was like, yeah, this guy's the real deal. And then you saw him fight and you're like, this is serious. So seems like a super nice guy. His injury was just heartbreaking. And I know it's been a really difficult recovery. So I'm super excited to see him return in 2023. I do think he fights. But one, I'd be surprised if he fought more than once. Again, he's of the age where I think he has to be a bit picky with what he wants to do with his opponents. As I mean, I say opponent choices. He has to be picky with that. The kind of schedule he keeps. Because keep in mind, he's not just coming back from an injury. This is a long layoff, man. It's tough to come like to get back into that busy fighting mode. And taking 2 fights a year is I know a lot of people saying, well, you know, a lot of guys fight 3-4 times a year, but again, he's a little bit older. He's a little bit older, and I don't think he's ever been the type of guy to be super busy in the cage. Let's take a quick look before the injury. And you know, when you're champion, that slows down your schedule a little bit too. But before the injury, he fought once in 2020, once in 2019, once in 2018. So what you're saying is, not counting the injury year, he's going to have to fight 2 times in a year for the first time in 4 years. It just seems unlikely to me. The year before that, he only fought twice. 2016 only fought once. He's not an active fighter as it is. Now he's coming off injury, long lap, and he has to win 2 fights. If they gave him like the right competition, fine, but you're probably throwing right back there with someone in the top 20. And like I said, middleweight's kind of healthy right now. It's not like filled with like easy wins in the top 20, like outside the top 10, I should say. This is a second easiest sell for me besides the Dillon Danis question. Love Chris. Hope he comes back. Hope he gets a win. I don't think he's fighting twice. I definitely don't think he's winning twice.
Will he return? Yes. Will he give us maybe the best moment of 2023? Yes. Will he win his fight? Yes. Will he finish his opponent? Yes. Will he fight again after that in 2023? No. So if this question was Chris Weidman makes a return and goes 1-0 in 2023, I would buy this. But for almost the same reasons that you're giving, I just don't think he'll fight twice. I think he will come back for one. And it's going to be a moment where the UFC sets him up to succeed, at least to the best of their ability, and to have this incredible moment, because I think we all know why. But I think he does come back. I think he wins. I think it's an awesome moment. But I think it'll be a one fight. That's it.
UFC, don't drop the ball on this. Do not throw him in there with someone in like the top 10. I get it. He has name value, and I'm sure he would.
Nickel.
If you throw him in there with Bo Nickel, at any point this year, I swear, I mean, I'm not going to do anything because I write about MMA and I'm a fan. I'm not going to stop watching. Who am I kidding? I'll shake my fist angrily and I'll write a very biting tweet. I will tell you, oh, you watch out, UFC. If you make that matchup, I will tweet at you so hard with all of my finger strength. I will tweet at you from Hell's Twitter account. I shall stab at thee. All right. I'm sorry. I apologize to the. I gotta calm down. Sorry, guys.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get so worked up. Whew, sorry.
Who knew the Chris Weidman feel good question would lead to that response?
I could get us sued, Mike. I apologize for making threats like that. Public on video. Casey, can we edit that out of the the podcast and the video later? So we can get sued for that. I really apologize.
Incredible.
Wow.
All right, what else we got? Oh, wow. Okay. Buy or sell, AK. These are always the fun ones. 3 or more of these names will no longer be on the UFC roster before the end of the year. Tony Ferguson, Kelvin Gastelum, Robbie Lawler, Dominic Reyes, Stipe Miocic. 3 or more of these names at year's end will not be on the roster. Whether it's straight up release, they fight out their deal, UFC doesn't resign them, retirement, all of those things in play, they will just no longer be on the roster.
Yeah. Whoever sent this in, great names. Like, they picked great names.
Perfect question.
There's not a name on there who I'm like, oh, I'm sure they're gonna stay, or I'm sure they're gonna. All these people are right on that fence of like, yeah, I could see them continuing fighting for another 2 years. I could see them retiring by by April. Man, they're all like, good job, whoever sent this one in. 3 or more, so at least 3. Mike, should we go case by case? Should we break this down? Should we go case by case, name by name, and see what we come up with?
We can.
Okay, what do you think, Tony? Let's go, Tony.
I think he will be on the roster by the end of the year.
You think he will be? Okay, I am also leaning towards Tony. So they will stay. So that's 1. Yeah, will not retire. So that's 1. That's 1 for both of us. Kelvin Gastelum. So he is main eventing against Nasruddin Imavov this coming Saturday. I don't think that fight's going to go well for him at all. I will say he is not on the roster by the end of the year. You think maybe they part ways? Because he's, what'll that be now? Like 4, quite a few consecutive losses for Mr. Gastelum.
Yeah, let me pull it up because we talked about this on the airing of grievances episode. And
three straight 1-6 since the including the Adesanya fight since 2019. So including the Adesanya fight, the loss that started the
since 2017. He lost to Chris Weidman. The Bisping win, which, come on now. The Jacare win, which a lot of people actually felt like he didn't deserve. Then losses to Adesanya. I mean, look, I think that fight in particular has given him such good grace overall that the leash is definitely longer. No doubt about it. Darren Till fight was what it was. Gets tapped by Hermanson just over a minute. Ian Heinisch, who's 1-4 in his last 5. He beat, lost to Whitaker, lost to Cannonier. Imavov fight's probably not going to go well. And look, the competition's been pretty damn good, but I just feel like 1-6 over 7. He'll be 3-7 over his last 10 without I'm trying to think if there's Bisping would be a top 15 win, but that was Bisping's retirement fight. Jacare was probably bottom end of the top 15 at that point. Heinisch was not ranked, I don't think. So I just don't know what else is for him. And I don't think he's going to want to cut to 170 because I think that's probably where like most of his late career success would come from. And it's what's crazy about this is we talk about Kelvin Gastelum like he's 40 years old right now. He's 31. Like he's 31. Oh, wow. He won't be 32 till October, which is crazy to think about. But I just don't know. I don't know if he's fought for an interim title, so he's probably making decent money. I just don't know. Like if he loses this fight convincingly to Imavov to kind of put him over, maybe he has one more. Maybe that's a good Bo Nickel fight right there. Maybe you keep him around for Bo on the way up.
Yeah,
that could get Bo to the top 10. So,
but like I said before the end of that could be the fight that they use him, and then happy trails,
and
Calvin. Yeah.
And look, Kelvin. I'm not saying Kelvin is not a good fighter. Like he could be a good fighter. I think for some fighters just need a fresh coat of paint and maybe a different promotion, different layout, different roster, different ownership, just different, less pressure perhaps out of the limelight, but still somewhat in the limelight. That could do well. Like if Kelvin Gastelum joined the PFL as a middleweight, I think he could do pretty well. If he went to Bellator, he could beat a lot of the top ranked guys at Bellator. And he would be a pretty good name to have on the roster. Yeah, I'm gonna say I think Gastelum will be off the UFC roster. I'm not saying he's out of MMA. I think he'll be off the roster by the end of the year.
So let's say Tony is still on the roster, Calvin. So we're 1-1 so far. Robbie, I weirdly think he's sticking around another year. I don't know why. I just don't have this feeling that this is the last we see of him on the UFC roster. I think there's still exciting fights for him. I think he hasn't been able to get there. You know, we've had a few cancellations over the last few years. You know, they've been booking him, right? A lot of these fights have just fallen through. He still wants to compete. I don't think he's I think he wants to stay in there as long as he can, and we know the company loves him. Um, so maybe you push this to 2024. I think it could go even further. I just think Robbie's just gonna be around, maybe fighting once a year for a while. So that to me is, I'm picking him to stay.
I am also picking him to stay
Okay.
because it's just talking to him. You don't get a ton from Robbie Lawler, but he doesn't BS you either. Like, he's got Bull Durham like answers to certain questions. But when it comes to what he wants and what his career looks like, he's even said, he said it a million times, I'm gonna only take fights that get me fired up. Like, fights that get me excited. If they offer me somebody that doesn't get me excited, I'm just not gonna fight. He'll just say no. But if there's a fight that gets him excited, he'll say yes, and he'll take it seriously, and he'll train hard, and he'll get after it. I'm sure he knows at this point he's not fighting for a world title. He's just doing it because he likes to do it. And he needs that extra push to get him in the gym and get him working really, really hard. So I do think he'll be on the roster at the end of the year because he's not going to be asking for too much. He's just going to go in there and they're going to offer him fights. He'll say yes, he'll say no. And yeah, I think he'll fight maybe once this year and be fine with that. So I think Lawler will still be on the roster.
Okay, so we're on two stays right now. Tony and Robbie, and one parting ways, Calvin. Dominic Reyes, I think he'll be gone. I think I just don't know if he can pull that trigger anymore. He's had to face some tough competition, no question. But we talked about, he's a classic case of a guy we were talking about. Maybe he just needs to step back. Ryan Spann is a very good fighter, but he was the step back. Ryan Spann was the step back from Yuri, from Jan, from John Jones, and it did not end well for Dominic Reyes. A really talented guy, no question, man. Like, and again, if you put him in there with light heavyweights outside of the top 20, sure, he's probably still picking up some knockouts here and there, but I don't know how far down you have to go now and how much it's worth his time, his investment, the UFC's investment in him. He's 30. He just turned 33. So it's not like super old, but there's some wear and tear there from MMA, from previous sports he's competed in. I have a feeling it's either retirement or a release from the UFC this year for Dominic Reyes. And maybe he can bounce back on another promotion, but I think I'm going to add him to. I'm going to even up the releases and keeps here, and I'm going to say Dominic is not with the UFC by the end of this year.
Yeah, because I think whatever fight he gets next, it's going to be against an absolute. He's going to have to fight like a Khalil Roundtree or somebody like that. Like, and that's just not fun for anybody, let alone Dominic Reyes. So, yeah, I think they'll give him one more, and if it doesn't go well, they'll part ways. And I don't think that'll be the end of his career. Again, maybe Dominic just needs a fresh coat of paint, a different promotion, different stakes, different layout, whether it's PFL or Bellator or even one champion, who knows? But yeah, I'm with you. So, but Stipe AK is probably
so this worked out perfectly, Mike. This worked out perfectly. The decider right here, Stipe, whether you're buying or selling. So we're 2-2.
Stipe is interesting because I'm fully convinced he never fights again. I don't think he ever fights again. And I don't think he needs to, and I don't think he really wants to. And I think the only thing that could get him back is a John Jones fight, which by all accounts was on the table, a Francis fight, but for buco dollars, like so much, like it just life-changing, cannot say no to this money. And I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think he's going to be able to have his cake and eat it too at this point. I think he's very happy with where he's at in life. I think he's very happy with what his career's looked like. A lot of people consider him the greatest heavyweight in UFC history. I've heard some people say and tweet out and comment that he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's coming. I mean, I just don't know if he's going to get everything he wants. I think he gets the opponent. He's not going to fight Curtis Blades. He's not going to fight Sergey Pavlovich. He's not going to fight Alexander Romanov. He's not going to fight Cyril Gane. Like, he's going to fight Jones or he's going to fight Ngannou, and he's going to want to make a ton of money to do it. And I just don't think he's going to get all of those things that he wants. And I think he'll be just fine, just not fighting. The question is whether or not if it's just a quiet, just not fighting, and he stays on the roster, or if there's just an outright release or parting of ways. And that's where I'm torn on this, because I don't think Stipe fights again. But it's just a matter of like, does the UFC play hardball and just like, okay, don't fight. We're just going to keep you on the roster and you can't do anything else in the combat world. So Stipe will be on the roster at the end of the year, but he will not fight this year.
Okay. We landed on the same page then, because I was going to say, yes, he will also. So we're both, you know what? We did the math. We did our due diligence. We're both buying this stock. We had to do a lot of looking into this stock, and we're both investing in this stock because, yes, I agree.
I'm selling this.
No, you said he'll. Oh, three of these will no longer be. Yeah, so we're selling. I'm sorry, we're selling.
We're both selling.
We are selling the stock. Yeah, we're both selling. We think Tony, Robbie, Stipe, three of these names will be on the roster before the end of the year. So yeah, we are selling. Everything moves slower at heavyweight, Mike. We know this. So yes. Stipe, I think you're right, is pretty much 1 and 4 toes out the door. But just, you're right. It's still kind of like, just going about his business. Has that call, that phone nearby waiting, like, oh, hey, they're going to, if a big fight comes along, yeah, of course I'm going to say yes. So, get that paycheck. And he's going to wait. He's going to wait and wait and wait. He's going to wait 6 months. He's going to wait 12 months. He's going to wait until 2024. And even then, who knows? I don't know how long it's going to take for him to finally say, you know what? I'm essentially done with fighting, barring something crazy, but otherwise consider me retired. It won't happen this year. It's going to take a long time. It's going to drag out. It's been dragging out, and that will continue. So, yeah, we're selling.
All right.
I'll take
a couple more. These are some really good questions.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah, I wish we could read them all. There's just so many good ones sent in.
Buy or sell over 2.5 current UFC ranked fighters will see the $1 million prize in PFL and sign with them. Now, last year we had a similar question that at least 3 currently ranked fighters in January 2021 would sign with the PFL in 2022. And at the time, we both bought this and we were both correct, because Shane Burgos, Aspen Ladd, Marlon Moraes at the time had not retired yet, and all of them signed with the PFL. So,
oh wow.
And we didn't even look inward any further than that. Just those 3 off the bat, nailed it. So same number here. Over 2.5 current UFC ranked fighters will sign with the PFL in 2023.
I'm oddly skeptical this time. I don't know why. It's an even technically well, no, it's essentially the same question. What do you think? More than 2.5? So 3. Do you think 3 people? I'm oddly skeptical. Maybe because I feel like there's been a little bit of a youth movement or some positive movement for up and coming fighters in the UFC's divisions this year, at least the ones that they share with the PFL. That would make sense for those fighters jumping over. So this time I'm going to go sell. I'm going to go sell. I think 2. I think we could see 2. No names are immediately jumping to my mind. I'm kind of just grabbing that number. I'm also not looking at their official rankings. I have our rankings open, and obviously that's a little different. There's gonna be some names in there, and even on the fringes of the UFC's top 15 that are more likely to make this jump. So I'm gonna go with 2. If I'm forgetting any obvious names, people in the comments, please shout them out on YouTube. But Mike, I'll go sell this time.
I'm looking at them now as well. I'll buy this. Because we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, 12. We're talking 12 divisions with 15 people in it, and 3 of them. By the way, Kelvin Gastelum is ranked in the UFC's middleweight rankings. So I'm just putting that out there.
So you're saying, yeah. Uh-huh.
I believe Paulo Costa. Yeah, Paulo Costa is still ranked in the rankings.
That's the popular one, right? Everyone wants to see what Paulo would do in a PFL tournament. Whether he could do light heavyweight, right? He wouldn't even have to cut weight. He could go do light heavyweight tournament, right? That's the beauty of it, and probably do very well if we're if we're gauging Paulo Costa's skills correctly. We'd probably do all right.
Dominic Reyes is ranked number 13.
Sure. So
and then there's others as well. There's yeah, I'll buy this. I think we'll get 3 out of 100.
Is he in the?
He's not ranked. So okay. Yeah, I'll buy this, because the UFC can't hold on to. They're just not going to be able to hold on to every single one of them, and PFL is going to be a very popular free agency option.
Yeah. If this hits again 2 years in a row, this could be our new for anyone who watches No Bets Bar. This could be our version of flyweight overs, Mike. It's like every year, always take the over on how many ranked UFC fighters will go to the like. Because maybe I'm being too careful here, or maybe I'm playing doing like a 50-50 thing, where I just don't believe that it's going to happen 2 years in a row. But if it does, because it could be our flyweight overs every year, you could see 2 or 3 or 4 ranked UFC people heading over to the PFL. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
Okay. Next. If any. Oh, okay. A current champ from one of Bellator, PFL, or one championship signs with the UFC by the close of the year. So a current champion from Bellator, PFL, or one signs with the UFC this year, AK.
I'm so tempted to say yes because I know it's very likely never going to happen. This man's very happy where he is. I so badly want Demetrius Johnson to return to the UFC and, fight Figueiredo, fight Brandon Moreno, fight this amazing new crop of flyweights. He's got decent competition over there in one, but with respect to all those guys, it's just not compared to the division that the UFC has built up at 125. It's so good. So, I mean, that would be my dream pick. But again, he's never made any indication. Demetrius Johnson has never said he hates the UFC. He's just, made no indication that he's been unhappy since moving to one. If anything, he sounded very happy since moving to one. And in all, reality, he stays there. He finished his career there. But I would love to see that happen. Looking at everyone else, PFL, I think who's gone the other way. What was it? Philip Lins did it. He went from PFL to the UFC. But PFL, it's certainly possible. I could see Bruno Capello. Is this a current? Oh, current. Who is our PFL? Olivier Aubin Mercier's not going back. Brendan Loughnane would be hilarious. I would love to see that. You know what? I'm speculating so much. I'm going by. Yeah, that's a pretty wide range of champions. Bellator, PFL 1 by close of 2023. One of them, yes, I will go by. That's a wide range.
Okay. So a current champ. So it could be Pacheco, Loughnane, Antic Elijah, OAM, Sadabusai, Rob Wilkinson. And then for one, there's Bueller, Malkin, RDR, Christian Lee, Tankai, DJ, Jared Brooks. Jared Brooks would be an interesting one. Ang Jingnan, Angela Lee. Don't see it. Bellator, Bader, Nemkov, Eblin, Amosov, Storley, Usman, Patricio, Pettis, Stotts, Cyborg, Carmouche. I'm so torn. But I have to go with math. I got to go with the numbers game again. So I will buy this. But again, this is just straight. I have a bunch of options to choose from. Mm-hmm. And I feel like one of the PFL champs could probably sneak in there with just a normal. I don't know why they would do that, though, to be honest. I'm changing my mind. I'm selling this. It's not happening. Not happening.
So many potential names, Mike. So many potential names.
There's certain times math comes into play here, but I think with kind of all the uncertainty going on at the UFC right now, I think it's going to, at least for a little while, I think it's for some of these other established names and these other promotions, I don't think it's going to be just as easy as getting a call from one of the UFC matchmakers to say, yes, my dream is to fight there. I think there might be I think it might be a little tougher in 2023, if we're being honest. So
I will say you can almost rule out Bellator, right? Who was the last Bellator champion to go over to the UFC? It's not a frequent thing, is it?
Was it Will Brooks? Was he the last one?
It would have to, or I guess Chandler.
But he wasn't the current champion, though.
Oh, you're saying current? Yeah, no. I'm just looking at really any former champion going to the UFC, and it's even that's not a long list. It's really not a long list of people. So yeah, I mean, they're good. Bellator is good at retaining their champions. I mean, that is one thing they do. They do retain them. So yeah, maybe I'm looking at the math wrong. Maybe we can kind of rule out Bellator, but I don't know, predicting some kind of weirdness. So I'll stay on the opposite side of the fence here.
Another just fantastic question, though. All right, we'll take like 2 more because I want to
Mhm.
get to the other stuff.
Oh, right. We got to give our. Oh gosh, I'd rather just keep doing these.
Buy or sell,
Of
Patty.
course.
Wow. All right, so I saw a couple different questions. One
Mhm.
was maybe we could just combine them here. Paddy Pimblett gets a knock. We'll go with this one. Paddy Pimblett gets knocked unconscious in a UFC fight in 2023. The other question
Mhm.
I saw was Paddy Pimblett will have a losing record in 20 or Paddy. The question was Paddy Pimblett will have a winning record in 2023. So, buy or sell, he gets knocked unconscious in a UFC fight in 2023. AK.
Sell. He's again, he's got that young man's chin. He's really tough to knock out. I think anyone who's watched his fights seen like he gets hit pretty hard. And I think he has a good chin. I think his defense it's not great, obviously, because he gets hit quite a bit, but it's good enough to avoid getting knocked out. This definitely depends on who you think he's getting matched up with. There's definitely some people in the top 10 that, if God forbid they threw him in there with them, would probably knock him into another country. But for now, I think they're still going to play it pretty smart with him. And even if they put him in there with a heavy hitter, not someone who's like guaranteed to land that kill shot, as it were. So pretty easy sell for me, Mike. I don't think he gets straight up KO'd. This, by the way, rules out TKO as well. TKO, early stoppage. I am looking at this as a straight up knockout. Like we're talking like Humpty Dumpty fall. You know what I mean? Like ass face down, ass up in the air, or spread eagle on the ground, whatever, slumped against the cage, like really nasty highlight reel stuff. I know a lot of people want to see it. Not yet. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I don't think so. Even if they make the fight with Ilya, I think Ilya stops him, but I don't think he knocks him dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'll sell this. The other question was, will he have a winning record? I'm selling that. I think because 1-1 is not a winning record. So even if he wins a fight and loses a fight, it's not a winning record. So
yeah,
I will sell that he does not have a winning year in 2023.
Yeah, I will sell a winning year as well. Yeah, I agree. I could see him either having some bad luck again, going up considerably in competition and finally running to guys that he just can't beat and going like 1-2, or as you said, 1-1. Not which technically not a winning record, but yeah, I can't see him going 2-1, 3-0 in 2023. But who knows? He's been pretty good so far.
Have we had a Conor McGregor question yet?
No, thank goodness. Is it coming? Oh, there. Oh, okay.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Buy or sell, Conor McGregor's next fight will either be International Fight Week or at MSG.
I mean, is this even a 2023 question? Does this assume he fights this is a 2020, like this assumes in 2023, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, I'm going to get more into this later, but like, I don't want to make any predictions for Conor McGregor or John Jones until I'm convinced that they're in a training camp, actually preparing for a fight, because I mean, Conor's a whole other thing. Conor's just got this whole other level of like celebrity where you wonder, does he even care about fighting anymore? He talks about it as much as Dillon Danis and fights about as often as Dillon Danis. So at what point do we stop like analyzing these questions with any sort of seriousness, with any sort of actual critical thinking? So I'm just going to go sell. I don't think he fights. I don't even know if he's going to fight this year. And two, whatever his schedule is, I don't know if it's going to fall conveniently into International Fight Week or the Madison Square Garden cards. So that's a sell for me. Just no, I don't even want to think about it.
It's crazy to think about that. I even had to ask that question. Like, have we even answered a Conor question? Because all the years we've done this, even when he was out, there were like a million Conor questions.
Yeah, this is a good sign. We're trending in the right direction.
But I will buy this because they're not just gonna like chuck him on like some rando card. Like it's gonna be one of these two, I think.
Moncton. Bring Conor to Moncton.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, it's Jupiter, Florida, UFC Jupiter. Conor McGregor headlines.
Send him to another planet.
I think this is a very big year for the UFC, especially with the way it started. They need to deliver something memorable, and Conor is a big part of those plans. So I will buy this, and he will fight on either of these two cards.
But that's why I think this year they're even less inclined to bring in the Conor McGregors and the John Joneses. These super.
How about this?
super unreliable guys. Like these are the last guys I'd be relying on to help, bounce back, give us a bounce back from bad PR.
How about this? I say he fights on both cards in 2023.
Whoa, super buy, a super buy.
A super
We've never had
buy.
that. We've never had that before, Mike. You can't just you can't invent that. You can't invent a super buy on the spot.
Because by all indications as well, he's only got 2 fights left on his deal. And if he comes back, he's just going to want to domino those. Just boom, boom, get on out. Go fight Jake Paul, go to PFL, go box Nate, go fight Nate on your own and make all the books, all the moolah. This would be interesting. I'm not confident in that pick at all, but I think if he fights on one, he fights on the other.
My best friend, that is a prediction. That's a buy.
And this is probably your favorite question right here. John Jones and Conor fight 3 or more times combined in 2023. I have to buy this now because I super bought. I didn't know this question.
This is coming. Listen.
Yeah,
we have a new winner of the easiest sell of this year. This is easier than the Dillon Danis. Dillon Danis might fall ass backwards in some random combat jiu-jitsu thing, all right, by accident. Like he might show up and then just throw him in for some exhibition fight, This is 3. Sorry, can I see the question? 3
or more times combined.
Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. No,
I have to buy this now.
Now you have to, because you think John Jones will fight and you think Conor will fight twice. So you're pot committed, my friend. You accidentally you super bought so hard you accidentally invested in something else without even realizing it. It's easy sell for me. There's no way. I'm not even convinced both these guys fight once each. I think maybe one of them will fight. I don't know. Easy sell.
I got 32 big blinds left, so I have to push them. I'm pot committed. Let's go. Do we have anything else, or are we ready for the UFC Championship predictions?
I think we can move on to the predictions.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you, Casey. Great job. Great job getting those questions out there. Thank you.
It's so much better that way. How did we not think of this before? And thank you to all the listeners, by the way. So now, AK, because those questions were those probably the best crop we've ever gotten. Let's go UFC champions. We'll start with the ladies. Ladies first. Who will be the UFC Women's Strawweight Champion at the end of 2023, AK?
Let me just let you guys know, my women's champ UFC picks are going to be super boring. So start off right away, Zhang Weili. I think I'm a believer that the time is right for her to have this dominant run. Rose, listen, she has to fight Rose again. Rose is getting a title shot whenever Rose decides to come back. She has 2 wins over Zhang Weili. Fine, more than deserved. But I think this version of Zhang beats whatever version of Rose shows up for their next fight. She got her with the head kick in that first fight. And look, it's not a fluke in any way. Rose, the better fighter that night. The second fight, super close. Whether you thought Rose won, whether you thought Zhang won, there's no question that you could believe that Zhang could beat her. It was a very, very, very close fight. And then obviously Zhang's performances since have only reinforced what a powerful strawweight she is and what a truly dominant champion she could be. And I think she is going to go that run for as long as she wants to stay at 115. So I like her winning the Rose rematch, sneaking another title defense in there. And again, maybe putting together like a GSP like second run, because let's not forget GSP, his first title fight defense, lost to Matt Serra, and then went on to become the greatest of all time. I think Zhang could do a similar thing and put together one of the greatest runs by a women's champion in MMA history.
I'm going with Zhang Weili as well. I don't know if she fights Rose. Maybe she fights Rose again. I'm not sure. Because again, we don't know what Rose is going to do. Rose has teased a possible move to 125. We don't know how many fights Rose just has left in her. She has an in-out relationship with MMA. She's told me that she wants to do a lot more grappling competitions. So not really sure what's going to happen there. She wanted to lift a lot of weights, change her frame a little bit. Who knows what that means? I mean, there's Amanda Lemos there. Always the Jessica Andrade fight, which I would love to see again, since the first one never really got going. Zhang just kind of trucked her. So I'm going with Zhang Weili. I think those 2 losses to Rose were so crucial for her, and I think she's turned that corner. And she was super good anyways, but I think now she's really turned the corner into being soon in that conversation of maybe she's the greatest strawweight of all time. It's not a 2-horse race. She enters that conversation as well. Probably won't be in that conversation by the end of this year, but at least she's on that road to possibly 2024. I think, and she's also not the most active fighter on the planet. So I think she'll fight twice and win both of her fights. Still the champion. Women's flyweight, I assume we're on the same page here. Another Friends Forever. Is it Valentina, or are you going somewhere else?
A big time Friends Forever. It's definitely Valentina. I mean, listen, I just mentioned Zhang potentially going on a historic title run. Valentina is in the middle of a historic title run, and I don't know if people. I mean, I would assume she definitely realizes like she's close to breaking the record. The record is what? Mighty Mouse 10 or 11? What's the record? What's the record?
11.
Here? 11.
I think it's
Mighty
11.
Mouse.
Appreciate it.
So she has four consecutive, and I believe she's going to be there as long as she wants to. I know everyone's saying, well, maybe she goes up to 135 and and goes for a champ, or and then which inevitably would result in her probably abandoning the 125 division. I don't know if that fight, the third fight with Nunes, is ever happening. We talk about it a lot, but it really feels like it's just not something that the UFC is pushing towards. And again, the second fight was terrible. I understand why. And there's still fresh blood at 125. We've mentioned this on many, many, many shows. Aaron Blanchfield, Casey O'Neill. I'm forgetting another. Manon Fiorot. She has challengers. Who people are interested in. Now, could some of these fighters eventually beat her? Sure. I know people think Aaron Blanchfield is champion, waiting to happen, but I don't think she's at that level yet. A Tyler Santos rematch has to happen as well. I would favor Valentina in that rematch. She could go for the record. Imagine her putting the next couple of years, putting together 12 consecutive title defenses. Hard to do. Again, everyone loses. Demetrius Johnson, he didn't just vacate the title. He lost a really close decision to Cejudo. Maybe that happens to Valentina down the road. Because again, this flyweight division has fresh contenders, and eventually someone's not going to miss and is going to have that night. Tyler Santos almost did, but if we're talking just this year, Valentina, stay at 125, keep cashing checks, keep racking up title defenses. Should be the champ this time when we're talking in 12 months.
Valentina Shevchenko is the correct answer. And she will also be the correct answer. And I'm gonna make a bold prediction right now. This is not the Muy Caliente prediction. This will be the last year Valentina is the name on that list. Because she is going to be the bantamweight champion at the end of the year as well. AK. I went down this road last year. I didn't get the opportunity to see this come to fruition because the UFC didn't book Nunes Shevchenko for whatever reason. But I kind of feel like you have to do it now. You have to, because I just don't know how much more Nunes has left, and who else is she gonna fight? I feel like you have to do it now. So I'm going Shevchenko double champ at the end of the year, and who knows? I think she probably will drop the flyweight belt and just be like, all right, I'm a 35er now, bring it on. But I think I think this year they have to put this fight together. They have to do it, and I'm picking Shevchenko to beat Amanda Nunes. So I'm going with it again. I didn't get my chance to cash this in last year, but I'm going to try again. Shevchenko flyweight, Shevchenko bantamweight.
Damn. Like I said, I don't know if they do that fight or if she even needs to go up. There's just good fights for her at 125. So I'm sticking with Amanda Nunes. I think we've said this with previous predictions. The only caveat would be is if Amanda says, listen, I've done enough. I'm walking away. I'm vacating the title. And then we end up with Ketlin Vieira or Holly Holm or something as a champion at the end of the year after winning a vacant title. And wouldn't the fans love that? I don't think she retired. I think she defends the bantamweight title one time, enjoys the money that comes with that one title defense, chills out for another year, and then retirement in 2024 or even later. But I'm done predicting Nunes' retirement. Not saying it can't happen, but I think I've suggested it a few times, both in 2021 and 2020. So enough of that. Maybe this will be the year. I don't predict it and it happens, but whatever. I'm playing it safe. She's a champ by the end.
I'm going Amanda Nunes, still the featherweight champion, because I don't think she will have retired yet.
Didn't even include this on my list.
Yeah. So there you go. Let's go to the men. We'll start at 125 pounds. The belt is on the line. Unification bout. Davison Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno. Part 4. The tetralogy is on. Will either of those men, AK, be champion at the end of the year?
Yeah, look at the name I put down here. And I'm not going to lie. First of all, I may have done this for the fans. But before I say what it is, let me preface it by saying I do think there's a chance Davison moves up to 135, so that kind of removes him from the equation for me. Even if he beats Brandon Moreno, he's going to vacate and go up. It's a tough weight cut. Bantamweight's a fun division. He'd love to get in there and mix it up. Then that keeps Brandon at 125. I don't think he's moving. He might, I don't know, he could in the future, but I'm pretty sure he stays at 125 and, has to fight for a vacant title. It's a deep division. I don't know if Brandon necessarily beats everyone else in that division. It's just so tough. There's 5 or 6 names. You throw them in there, depending on the matchup, depending on the night. I would pick them to potentially be champion. Manel Kape's in there. People know I'm not the biggest Manel Kape fan. I don't know. On the right night, you throw him in there with Brandon Moreno. It's not crazy to me that he could beat Brandon Moreno and become a champion or interim champion or win a vacant belt. So I went a little weird here, Mike. I went a little funny. I've been fighting this, Mike. I've been fighting this for a long time because saying it makes me uncomfortable.
Oh,
but he's on a good run. I think if we can just get these fights to stay together, we might see Brandon Royval be the champion by the end of the year somehow. Wow. And that means that 2023, it could be the year of the raw dog.
That's unbelievable. That's incredible.
That's all I have to say, Mike. Go ahead.
I love your answer so much, and I weighed this out, and I almost did the exact same thing. The problem is, the way I think January 21st plays out will be kind of a roadblock for him, because I think Brandon Moreno is going to win that fight, and I think Brandon will probably fight once more against somebody. And I think he'll avoid like the Amir Albazis of the world, because I think that's probably really one of the more dangerous matchups for him stylistically. So in the end, I'm sticking with Brandon Moreno to end the year as the champion. But boy, oh boy, is that a really tough pick. And I just don't know if they'll go to the Moreno-Royval fight that quickly. So Moreno figured just going to beat the hell out of each other. So he's not fighting 3 times this year. So I'm going with Brandon Moreno to be the champion.
And let me add, I think in the last year's bowl predictions, I picked Pantoja. So maybe I just didn't want to pick Pantoja in back-to-back years, but I also think there's a definite possibility that guy finally gets his title shot and wins it.
Yeah.
So, but officially, year of the raw dog. I'm not going back from it. Maybe I was just early on Pantoja, and maybe I should have stuck with it. But I'm just going to change my answer. It's just more fun. It's more fun to say it.
The men's divisions, like, you can make a case that there will not be a current champion being still champion at the end of this year. And that leads us to the bantamweight division, AK. This could be really, really interesting. Flyweight is interesting. We've got Mateus Nicolau is in that conversation as well if he gets re-signed. So there's lots of options at 125. There are a ton of options at 135 as well. Currently, the champion is Aljamain Sterling. He does not have his next title defense booked. Seems like they're heading towards the Henry Cejudo path, which I love so much. There's Sean O'Malley. There's other names as well. Who will be the guy at 135, in your opinion?
I'm sticking with Aljo, holding on to it, and maybe only fighting once in 2023, like one title defense. I just got this weird feeling, even if the Cejudo matchup happens, the MMA gods will justifiably laugh at it and make something happen so that fight doesn't come around. Either some sort of injury to Sterling, injury to Cejudo, some sort of illness, just some reason that fight doesn't happen. I don't care for it. If it happens, it's certainly interesting, but him getting Cejudo getting an immediate title shot is just so uninteresting to me. Despite the fact that in cage, I get it. It's a cool thought, but man, even for someone who calls belts props, I need a little more convincing than that to give Cejudo another shot. So, but whether that happens or not, I do feel like Aljo will have a successful defense, whether it's against Cejudo, whether it's against O'Malley, whether it's against, I don't know, someone else who sneaks in there, the winner of the Sanhagen Cheeto matchup. I don't know. Maybe that fight happens instead. I just have a weird feeling that Aljo doesn't end up fighting more than once in 2023, and whoever he fights, he is going to beat them, and then we just get that one title defense. So sorry guys, not the most exciting answer. I love bantamweight. I would love to see bantamweight keep moving. I'd love to see the top of it keep moving. But I just have a feeling at the top it's going to be a little bit of weirdness, a little stagnation. So that's going to be good for Aljo. He'll still be the champ. Not so great for us as fans, as we might not get to see a new champ.
Weirdness indeed, AK. That's what I'm going with. And this will not be a friends forever moment. And not for the reason you think. Aljamain Sterling will not be the bantamweight champion at the end of the year. However, He will also not lose that title on his own. Well, technically he will on his own accord, but it won't be in a fight. Aljamain Sterling will probably fight Henry Cejudo. I'm picking Aljamain Sterling to beat Henry Cejudo. He will stick around at bantamweight to fight Sean O'Malley because he'd be a lunatic if he did not do that and try to get that big bag, because that's the biggest fight for him at 135. I will pick him to beat Sean O'Malley. And then when he gets the microphone and Joe Rogan speaking with him, he's going to say, I am out of this division. I am moving up to 145. See you later. I'm no longer the champ. My boy Merab, he's going to get his shot. But Merab will not get his shot because at the end of the year, Marlon Vera will fight somebody and end the year as the bantamweight champion of the UFC. I'm going with Chito Vera winning the vacant title at the end of 2023 against, maybe they just do O'Malley again. Maybe O'Malley gets 2 title shots in 2023. But that's what I'm going with.
That would be fun. It's a much more fun outcome than I picked, Mike. I'd love to see your scenario play out.
Featherweight, I feel, is pretty easy, but this was actually tougher because if Volkanovski beats Islam Makhachev, I don't think he's fighting at featherweight anymore because it makes no sense for him to do that. You drop that belt, you just fight the Poiriers and the Chandlers and the Connors and all the big stars at 55. But I don't think he's going to beat Islam Makhachev. I think he's going to be super competitive. He's going to give a really tough fight. And then Volk will have to go back to 145. And I just don't see anybody at 145 beating him right now that realistically will get into the octagon with him this year, whether it's Josh Emmett or Yair or any guy that's kind of in the quote unquote title hunt right now. So I'll go with Volkanovski, but if he beats Makhachev, then I'm going to be wrong about this, I think. Your thoughts?
Well, I'll say I am leaning towards Volkanovski not being a featherweight by the end of the year. So I do think we will have to see a new champion. Good crop of fighters here. A lot of directions you could go in, as you kind of just alluded to, Mike. And I landed on Yair. I think we might see Yair win the interim title and then, become either gets promoted or wins a fight. Yeah, well, I'm going to have to get promoted because I don't think he's fighting Volkanovski and beating him. So that title gets promoted to the undisputed title by the end of the year. And El Pantera finally kind of fulfills his destiny as this, everyone's kind of seen him as this world title contender. He's either fallen short in good fights or just weirdness has happened with matchmaking and just not being able to get in the cage. But this could be the moment. This could be his moment in 2023. So I'm not saying he's going to beat Volkanovski. I do think Volkanovski vacates the title. And yes, and Yair's, after he wins the interim belts, eventually is promoted to undisputed status and stays that way until next January.
So by this pick, are you saying that Alexander Volkanovski will be the lightweight champion, AK?
Yes, I am.
Wow, I love it.
Alexander Volkanovski, I think he beats Makhachev. I don't know if he even defends. It might be, again, this might be a one. It sucks to say, but this happens these days in the UFC. It might just be a one title fight for Volkanovski this year, which is why he'll vacate the featherweight title. He'll be like, listen, I don't know if I'm fighting again this year, so it was not fair for me. If I'm not going back to 145 this year, so it's definitely getting vacated. I do think he beats him. I think the track record, Mike, of fighters going up is pretty good, right? I mean, all the champs. I was looking at all the people who have become champs. And again, these are just the ones who succeeded. So if I'm missing anyone that missed, obviously you have to take those into account. Randy Couture, who was the heavyweight champion first and then went down to light heavyweight and then went back to heavyweight, but either way didn't have issues winning titles a higher weight class. BJ Penn, he won the welterweight title first, but he had contended for the lightweight title before, just didn't get it. It was a draw anyway. So, but either way, won a welterweight title. For a guy who was a career lightweight and later a featherweight. Conor McGregor, obviously. GSP went up to middleweight. Cormier had competed at heavyweight, but won the title first at light heavy before becoming heavyweight champion. Amanda Nunes, obviously, listen, whatever you want to say about featherweight division, she does compete at a higher division. And then we just mentioned Cejudo, who went back up to bantamweight to become 2 divisions. So pretty decent. Going the other way, not as great. Hasn't gone as great for some fighters. But going up, it's been okay. Now, has any of them faced as formidable a challenge as Islam Makhachev is looking right now? I don't know, but I like Volkanovski's chances. I just think on paper, it's a lot of people have good reasons why Volkanovski can win, and I'm buying into all those. And again, whether he defends the lightweight title or not, I don't know if he does defend it for the end of the year. I think he wins this fight, and then hopefully he can get in there. It is early in the year. Hopefully he can get in there and defend. But these things happen where you can't. But either way, I'd pick him to beat a lot of guys in the lightweight top 5 as well. So I'm all in, Mike Alexander Volkanovski.
I love it. I'm going with Islam Makhachev. I do think he beats Volk. I think it's a super competitive fight. I think it's a super compelling fight. And it'll be Makhachev's toughest test. And I think he might fight one more time. He'll probably win. So I'll stick with him to be the champion. Welterweight AK, currently held by Leon Edwards. What a moment it was in 2022. He's expected to rematch Kamaru Usman and be an underdog once again. We mentioned Jorge Masvidal. We mentioned Colby Covington. There's Bilal Muhammad. There's other names in the mix. Gilbert Burns. Maybe you said Shavkat Rakhmonov will be fighting for the title sometime in 2023. So who will be your welterweight champion?
My best friend, those predictions go hand in hand together. He is going to fight for a title. He is going to win a title. He is going to be the champion by the end of the year. And again, he doesn't even have to defend it because we have kind of both said if the math works out for him at all, it'll probably be a title shot in the the fourth quarter of 2023. So we're talking about a title fight that closes out the year and sends Shavkat into 2024 as the new welterweight champion. So yeah, I'm sticking with what I said before, not just getting a title shot, but taking it all the way.
A lot of fans are going to be happy with what I'm about to say because, ladies and gentlemen, in 2024, the fight that you have been talking about for the last 2 years, the fight that you continue to talk about now, the fight that you have talked about nonstop since we found out Jeff Neal wasn't fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov, is going to happen in 2024. But it will be Shavkat Rakhmonov challenging for the title against the man who will end the year as the champion. And this might be a shock to you, AK, but I'm going with it. I think whatever hurdles that Khamzat Chimaev needs to overcome, I think he's going to overcome them. And I think he will get a shot at the welterweight title in 2023. And if he does get that shot against anybody, he's winning it. He's winning it. And therefore, Khamzat Chimaev is going to end 2023 as the welterweight champion of the world, setting up a blockbuster with Shavkat Rakhmonov sometime in 2024. So I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev.
I hope he doesn't let you down.
Fully confident. Yeah.
I hope he has let you down many times. And when you let down Mike Heck, you let down his best friend, AK Lee, too. So Khamzat, get your stuff together, sir, and make Mike Heck's predictions come true, please, because we have been very high on the Khamzat Chimaev train as far as being a future champion. And I have now taken a step back. You have kept your faith in this happening, and I hope it's rewarded.
Let's go to middleweight, AK. A lot of people think this is a 2-horse race between Alex Pereira, the current middleweight champion, and the former champion, Israel Adesanya. Is it going to be one of those two guys, AK?
Yes, the fans are right. Izzy's going to get it back. Will he get it back from Alex Pereira if they do an immediate rematch? Yes, then he just gets it back. I do wonder if that rematch doesn't happen, does someone else take it from Alex Pereira, and then Israel Adesanya beats that person? I can see that happening, and then maybe you set up a fourth combat sports matchup with Izzy and Pereira in 2024. But I think some way or form, whether he wins another meeting with Pereira, finally gets a W over him, or someone else beats Pereira and then Izzy steps in there. Either way, I feel pretty strongly about Izzy getting it back, having another reign. I don't know how long will the second reign last. Is he gonna, make a future permanent move up to light heavyweight? Certainly possible, but there's unfinished business at 185, and I think Izzy knows that. So I think he sticks around 2023, gets his belt back.
I'm curious about how active Izzy's going to be in 2023. I mean, this dude's been in the limelight a lot. He's been very active over the years. Fought 3 times in 2023. It was kind of an emotional one for him. From fighting Whitaker as a tough fight, headlining international fight against Jared Cannonier, kind of got booed out of the building. Had to deal with that. Pereira fight was great. He was winning, and then he got knocked out. I mean, with how much he's risen as a superstar over these last few years, and then to have a year like he had, it takes a lot out of you. So I don't know if this is going to be the kind of year where like Izzy's coming back in March and fighting Pereira again. It could be quite a bit of time before he comes back. Having said that, I'm going with Robert Whittaker. Because I think somehow, some way, because of that, he slides in there. Maybe he gets a win beforehand, but I think Whittaker slides in there, fights Pereira, beats him, and I don't know. And I'm going to say he doesn't fight Izzy again until 2024. I think it's just a weird timing thing. That's just how it laid out. This is a tough one for me. So I think Robert Whittaker fights for the belt, wins it, and then doesn't defend it because that was the second fight of the year. That's what I'm going with.
Wow. Bobby Knuckles back on top?
The Knuck Man. Going
That'd
with the
be fun.
Knuck Man.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. Okay.
Yeah. Then he gets his chance to fight Izzy one more time, and I think we already know how that fight's going to go. It'll be competitive, but Izzy will probably get his title back, and then we'll see from there. 205, AK. We don't have a champion right now. Who's it going to be? It's a lot of people are calling for a hot potato. Is that what's going to happen here?
I think this guy is the best light heavyweight in the world, and he just needs to get healthy. Yuri Prochazka is going to come back. He's going to win his title back. I don't know if who's going to have it by then. I don't know if it's going to be Glover Teixeira or Jamal Hill or Magomed Ankalaev or whatever other name you want to throw in there. I have a lot of faith in Yuri. Yuri getting it back. I was probably one of the slower people to get on the Yuri bandwagon. That's probably why now I'm maybe overdoing it and supporting him as the best 205er. But yeah, listen, I loved we've said so many times how much we loved that fight, and I have infinite faith now in this man to win any sort of scrap. I don't care what the style matchup is. I don't care how decorated the opponent is. I don't care how skilled the opponent is. He just has that ability to just go to war with anyone and find a way to win. How long will does that make you a long running champion? I don't know. He might be a guy who takes quite a bit of damage in fights. That may limit his lifespan here. But do I think that he can win it back and maybe get a title defense in there and have himself an actual run as champion? I do think so. So I'm going with Yuri to come back.
This is a tough one for me because I'm torn between two. And I'm actually going to give both answers. And I feel like I should get credit for either one. And here's why. I'm picking Glover Teixeira to end the year as champion because I think he's going to beat Jamal Hill. I don't know how they're going to... I just think Yuri might try to come back a little too soon. And by the time they rebook that one, maybe we just find out he's not ready to come back. And I do think if they fight again, I do think Glover can beat him. So I'm going to just go there. So I'm going to say Glover. But the other option I have is none. 0 champions. Still. Because if what I say happens, let's say Glover wins the belt and then fights Yuri and wins again. What else does this man have to do? He'll just vacate and retire and be done. So I guess my answer is it'll be no other answer but Glover Teixeira. It's either Glover or there will be no champion. We're going to start 2024 without a light heavyweight champion once again. So that's what I'm going with. Not a ton of confidence there. I just think the timing of this division and where we ended up last year, it's a mess, man. It's a mess. And I think Magomed Ankalaev could probably be the guy. I just don't think he's in the good graces of the UFC right now. And I think his road to getting back to a title shot is going to be a really long one after that last fight.
I almost did that for featherweight, going no champion. I had a weird feeling of Volkanovski vacates and then just bizarre things happening where like we get, the championship fight doesn't have a proper result or that fights fall through that is supposed to establish a new champion. I almost went that way with featherweight, Mike. So you will definitely deserve credit whether it's Glover or Glover wins and then vacates. I think that's fair. I think we can make that ruling now.
AK heavyweight. Who's going to be the heavyweight champion at the end of the year?
I want to say Jailton Almeida. I want to, but it's too soon. That's a 2024 prediction. I want to say it because let me tell you something. Whenever he fights for a title, I don't care who Jailton Almeida fights. That dude is winning a world title in the UFC. Okay, that dude is winning a UFC title. I don't know if it's a heavyweight. I don't know if it's a light heavyweight. I will pick him to beat anyone in either of those divisions. I'm so sold on Jailton Almeida. it just, we just need that step up in competition, and that's fine. People need to see it. I totally get it. So then you have what? Francis Ngannou, Ciryl Gane, John Jones, Stipe. Certainly some other names in there. You got Sergey Pavlovich coming on through. I'm not ready to put any faith in, I don't know, the situation with Ngannou getting resolved. Like I said, John Jones even fighting this year. Stipe, like we said, is he going to get the matchup he wants that's going to convince him to come back? Is he kind of quasi-retired? I think somehow this opens the door. I haven't drawn up an exact map. This man's finally going to get the fights that he wants, and he's finally going to be a UFC champion, and it's gonna still be that by the end of the year. It's time for Curtis Blades. I don't know what the map is. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if he fights Stipe. I don't know if John Jones actually does come back, and I don't know if John Jones beats Ngannou, and then Curtis Blades beats John Jones. I don't know what the map is. I don't know. It's heavyweight is. We've said it's slow. It's also so unpredictable. I will say I'm confident with Blades beating Pavlovich. I think he can do that. I'm have Alexander Romanov, some of his other names coming up. As long as he doesn't get matched up with Jailton Almeida, I like his chances a lot. I like his chances against Ciryl Gane. Ngannou is the only one who I feel like, again, we've already seen him lose that fight twice, and I'm not saying he can't win a third one, but I'm not convinced that I would favor him against Ngannou. And John Jones might be at heavyweight, might be a good matchup for him too. We don't know. We don't know what John Jones looks like at heavyweight. So, and again, I don't even think John Jones is fighting, so you can take him out of there. And I'd like Blades against Miocic. So just doing that, like thinking that all these fights that he could win, I think it happens for him. I Curtis Blades, sir, I am rooting for you to get this title shot, and if you do, I think you pull it off, and I think we could both be celebrating your victory by the end of the year.
I'm invoking the chaos clause again, AK. Get ready for this. The correct answer is John Jones. John Jones is going to fight Francis Ngannou. It's going to be a very close fight, and a lot of people are going to feel like Francis won. And then the judges are going to score for John Jones. He becomes the heavyweight champion. Everyone's going to be clamoring for a rematch to put these two guys together. And then it's just going to take months and months and months of negotiations, and John's going to want more money. Well, if I fight this guy again, you got to pay me more. It's a huge blockbuster. If you really feel like it was a robbery, then you got to pay us more because it's even bigger. And I don't think the UFC is going to give him what he wants. So he will fight once, win a very close, controversial decision, and then we will be clamoring for part two. It will not happen. The UFC will institute a interim title involving Francis Ngannou and somebody else, and John will do as I predicted at some point during 2023. He will go on Twitter and he will announce his retirement from the sport, but not actually retire. And the hope will be that John Jones fights again in 2024. But that's what I'm saying. John fights once. It ain't going to be the prettiest thing we've ever seen. It's going to be a controversial decision, but in the end, John will end the year as the undisputed heavyweight champion. Potentially an interim title will be put on the line at some point involving Francis and somebody else. But I think we're looking at this John Jones thing with rose-colored glasses. Like this is just going to be a perfect thing that's going to happen where we get this big blockbuster fight. It's going to go exactly the way we think it's going to go. But if 2023 and how it started is any indication, I'm invoking the chaos clause once again. John Jones, but it ain't going to be pretty.
Mike, that was an incredible full circling from the top of our buy-sell predictions to the end of our, because that was one of our first questions, right? The John Jones retirement, or
if he retires, yeah.
Did you do that? How did you do that? Did you and Casey plan that? Did you guys do that?
No.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
It worked out great.
That's why you're the best in the business. That was amazing. Wow, what a way to bring those two sections together. Incredible stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood right now. So it is now time to close the show with our bold prediction of the year. And AK, you and I were talking about this on our Slack channel earlier this morning. With the way this year has already begun, it's almost impossible to come up with like the right bold prediction, because this isn't just something that could happen. It's something that like it would be like a oh wow moment, and if it happened, and we'd look like the geniuses of MMA if this actually happened. Like we have to think outside the box. We have to do something a little crazy here. And this year has been freaking crazy already, and we're barely a week into it. So What is your 2023 Muy Caliente bold prediction? And for those who forgot what you said last year, your bold prediction was that Khamzat Chimaev would lose a fight. That did not happen. What is it going to be this year?
Oh, that was it. That wasn't very bold. This is I'm going bold this time. I'm going super bold this time, Mike, because
Oh man,
like it was a little tricky. It was a little tricky coming up with something here. Listen, people, to some degree, Mike, I owe not an apology, but I got a little over enthusiastic about the possibility of Charles Oliveira having, continuing his dominant reign by beating Islam Makhachev and bringing Khabib Nurmagomedov out of retirement. That was a drum I had been beating for many, many, many months, probably since Charles, like when he beat Tony Ferguson. I think I was saying I need to see him fight Khabib someday. And then as events unfolded for both fighters, I was like, well, Khabib's retiring, but you know what? I think he's going to come back. He's going to fight Charles. So I got a little crazy, and I'm on video as saying I thought Charles was going to beat him. And when they finally got matched up with Islam, that Charles was going to beat Islam and fulfill that last part that convinces Khabib to come back, to avenge his boy and fight Charles in 2023. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Charles lost. Islam's the man. But Mike, I did just predict that I think Alexander Volkanovski is going to beat Islam Makhachev. So maybe I was just a little bit early. Maybe I was a little bit early, and maybe I had the wrong name in this equation. Because I do think Volkanovski is going to beat Islam. And now we've had all this talk recently. Oh, Khabib, this smoke. I've seen a lot of smoke about Khabib stepping away. He doesn't want to. He's not going to coach. Obviously, this whole Eagle FC thing went kind of funny. So he's stepping away from managing that. He's putting that in the hands of some other people that he trusts, and he's going to step away from the MMA picture. But that's a trick, Mike. He's stepping away to get back into training, to get back into fight shape. Do you see? Not because he expects Islam to lose, just for fun, just in the back of his mind. It's kind of like, I just want to train, get back into shape. But then when Islam loses, that will be the last spark that has him go, oh, well, I have to come back now. I got to take a shot. I got to prove that I can still come back and take the title anytime I want. And this fight will happen. Finally, Mike, the UFC will get their Dallas Cowboys Stadium show headlined by Alex Volkanovski defending his title against Khabib Nurmagomedov. That is your bold prediction. You get the lightweight title fight to end all lightweight title fights. And because I said Volkanovski will end the year as lightweight champion, he will hand Khabib Nurmagomedov his first and only loss before Khabib retires again. That's it. I'm going super bold this year. Let's go.
dude, that was super bold. I loved how you ran through that whole thing, and I was already stunned. And then you had and there was an and on top of that. There's another thing added to it. Wow. Mine is bold, but I mean, it's nowhere near as bold as this one in the grand scheme of things. I need you to listen to me when I say this, okay? Listen to the first thing I'm about to say, and then it's a journey, okay? My bold prediction is that Bellator MMA will be no more at the end of 2023. As being rumored, Bellator is on the market, so to speak. I've heard rumblings of the same. I think by the end of this year, somebody will come through and they will purchase Bellator and they will be under new ownership. And they will carry on and we will have Bellator MMA shows through 2023. But before this year ends, it will be known with some kind of announcement before the end of the year that Bellator MMA will not be Bellator MMA anymore, that finally it will be a new name. I don't think it'll be Shaheen Al-Shadi's Showtime MMA, but I think heading into 2024, Bellator, with the momentum that they will garner, not just from the news of the sale and because of some of the cool things they're going to do, and I think they ended 2022 with a lot of momentum, I think somebody will come through and they will purchase this promotion and things will run. They will get the fresh coat of paint that it needs, including getting rid of the Bellator MMA name. Same promotion, same fighters, new look, new name, new everything. Bellator MMA will still be a promotion. In theory, we'll remember it as the old Bellator MMA. but it'll just be named something different and cool and more sensical by this new ownership group.
Wow.
So that's what I'm going with. I think Bellator will be sold, and then by the end of the year, we will know that it will be called something different. That's what I'm going with.
Bellator MMA is dead. Long live Bellator MMA. Is that what you're saying? Long, or whatever the new name, long live whatever the name change. But the spirit of Bellator MMA will live on with a fresh coat of paint, with a rebranding, with Scott Coker, with a new name. I like it. I say this as someone who has never had issue with the Bellator name. I understand why people do, but I'm just tired of all the XFC and LFA and UFC. But sure, listen, there's a reason these initials work in combat sports. It's effective. It's fine. So they try to do something different. A lot of people don't like the name. I understand. It's never quite caught on. It's never quite hit in the way that they've wanted to, as like this big alternative to, again, the usual, initials, 3 initials, 4 initials, whatever. So yeah, I'm not against the new name. I've always liked Bellator, but yes, a rebranding might help, especially with kind of what we've always said in the past. Just people always kind of viewing it, I don't know, in a certain way as like inferior to the UFC. And, I've felt that they've done a good job of kind of striking out in their own way. But every time they bring in an ex-UFC guy, you're going to draw those comparisons. Maybe that'll continue to be part of their plan going forward, even with a new name. Who knows? But a new name can't hurt, and maybe a slightly new direction.
Yeah, fresh coat of paint. I think, like I said, I think they have a lot of momentum right now. I think the end of the year, great. I think 2023 is going to be a very good year for them. But I also think that we got to mix things up a little bit. We got to shake it up a little bit. And I think that's what's going to happen here. So, but we'll see. We'll see if the sale goes through, the rumored sale. We'll see if this is all real. But again, these are bold predictions. We're thinking outside the box here. We're trying to be on our own island, if you will. So there we go. That is the 2023 predictions extravaganza, capped off with the Muy Caliente prediction of the year from each of us. We have definitely gone a lot bolder than we did last year. Last year, you said it was Chimaev wouldn't lose. I said that Anderson Silva would win more boxing matches than Khamzat Chimaev won MMA fights, and we're both incorrect at that pick. But that is this. We'll see. We'll check back in December and see how we did with this to kick off the 2-part predictions extravaganza for 2024. Back next week, AK, we're going to be putting the matchmaking crowns back on our heads following, I don't remember which one this is. I think this is UFC Vegas 67, right? Is it 67?
60 should be 67. Yes, or 66. Yeah. I believe we ended on 66,
yeah. So I'm looking at this card right now. Kelvin Gastelum, Nasruddin Imavov is the main event. Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. Excellent co-main event. Puna Soriano, Roman Kopylov in the featured spot as of right now. Ketlin Vieira, Raquel Pennington, Umar Nurmagomedov, Ioni Barcelos, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Claudio Ribeiro, Mateusz Rebecki, Nick Fiore, Mateusz Mendonca versus Javid Basharat, Alan Nascimento, Carlos Hernandez, Daniel Argueta versus Isaac Dulgarian, Jimmy Flick, returning from his retirement, takes on Charles Johnson, and Priscilla Cachoeira versus Sajara Eubanks. That is our first offering for the year for the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And AK and I will be back on the program next week on the podcast network to do the matchmaking for the winners of the main card and our wild card picks and get your picks as well. So AK, any final words before we go from the predictions realm into re-wearing the matchmaking crowns for 2023?
Yeah, I just want to say, look, there were a lot of highs in 2022. Again, I was also recommend people, please read Jed Meshu's year in reviews articles that went up on MMAfighting.com this week. But we had so many highs. If you just look at sort of the best of the best of the best in 2022, it was as good as like any other year. Some of the best knockouts, best fights, best moments, best submissions, everything. Like there was so much fun to be had, and following on a week-to-week basis may not have been the most thrilling experience. So to everyone, all the super hardcores out there who don't miss a fight night, who tune into like one championship cards at God knows what time in the morning, Rising cards, God knows what time in the morning, watch Bellator every month, to have their eyes locked in those PFL standings. For all the hardcores, I hope you are richly rewarded for your dedication to MMA and to combat sports in 2023, because again, at its best, combat sports is so fun. And despite some of the horrible stories that have come out recently and horrible behavior from some of the athletes involved, I still think there's so much good in this industry, so much good in this business, and I hope we see more of that shine through in 2023 and less of the ugliness. But that's the hope for every year. But I think specifically in 2023, especially given recent news. So I hope everyone has a great time watching combat sports, and really thank you everyone who tuned into today's show and is going to tune into the rest of our programming this year and check out our coverage of all of the MMA on MMAfighting.com.
Yeah, this has been one heck of a show. I think we're over the 2-hour mark right now. This is definitely the longest predictions extravaganza we've had, but we've had so much fun. The questions are just so good that it wasn't just buy, sell, move on, buy, sell, move on. A lot of them had debate, and we appreciate that very much. We appreciate all of you guys sending in your matchmaking suggestions every single week to us, and continue to do that because we'll be back with the matchmaking show coming off of UFC Vegas 67 or UFC Fight Night, Gaslam versus Imlop. But Casey, you can hit the music. We are done. We appreciate it. And as AK likes to say, and I agree with, always remember, don't take this stuff too seriously. MMA is supposed to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. And we will have more fun starting next week and throughout the year right here on to the next one, the podcast with myself and Alexander K. Lee. Good night, everybody.